Hi, I'm the Midnight Storyteller, here to keep you company through the quiet hours. Many of you listen to these stories to fall asleep, and I'm honored to guide you there. And before we begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps keep the stories alive. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it on your side of the night? Now, get comfortable, relax, and let's begin. They taped the notice right across the peephole, bright yellow, screaming in block letters, Eviction. I stood there barefoot, one hand still on the door latch, the other clenching a coffee mug I hadn't even taken a sip from. I don't remember opening the door, but I must have, because the paper was there, and the hallway smelled like bleach and old carpet, like it always did. Except this wasn't my lease. I lived here. Unit 5C, Nicole Reyes. I memorized every inch of this apartment when I first moved in 2 years ago. The squeaky board under the kitchen tile, the faint cigarette burn on the bedroom windowsill, the way the bathroom light flickers 3 times before it settles. But the lease they brought up, my name wasn't on it. Some guy named Elena Ruiz. I laughed at first, like a mistake, bureaucracy glitch. But then the landlord, Mr. Armin, tall, always reeking of cloves, walked up and stared at me like I was a pile of trash someone forgot to take out. "You're squatting," he said flatly. "We reset this unit last week. I've never seen you before." His voice wasn't angry, just bored, like this happened all the time. "You have my checks, my rent history," I said, following him back down the hallway. "I paid through January." He didn't turn around, just unlocked the office and let himself in. "Leave the premises, miss, before I call someone." Someone? I called the cops myself. I thought maybe I could force a record, get something on file to prove I wasn't losing my mind. The officers came, looked at my ID, scanned it with their little black device. "This says your address is 32 Bellevue Terrace," the shorter one muttered. "Not this place." I stared at him. "That's not real. That's not even a street." He turned the screen to me, showed the registered address under my name. "Matches your DMV record," he added, "and your bank account." Except I'd never even heard of Bellevue Terrace, and when I pulled up my bank app, it had a login screen. All my saved credentials were gone. Everything was gone. Inside the apartment, my stuff still sat exactly where I left it. My toothbrush, my boots by the radiator, the candle my ex gave me that I kept meaning to throw away. But something was wrong. I found a photo on the fridge, magneted under a postcard from Hawaii. I was in it, sort of, smiling beside a woman I didn't recognize. She wore my leather jacket, my backpack, but her face was different. Lips too thin, nose smaller, cheekbones sharp like glass. The label underneath read, "Nicole plus Sandy 2012. I was there, but I wasn't. That night I tried to sleep on the couch, just for a few hours, but every time I shut my eyes I heard it, a click, then a motor. I cracked one eyelid open. The security camera in the hallway was pointed at my door. It wasn't there yesterday. I moved the curtain slightly, just enough to see. The red light blinked, recording. The next morning, the keypad on the building entrance beeped twice when I entered my code. Wrong number. I tried again and again, until the woman behind me sighed, brushed past, and buzzed herself in. "Can you hold the door?" I asked. She hesitated. "Are you new here?" "No," I said. She looked me up and down. "Never seen you before." She let the door close. It locked behind her. I left that afternoon and took a train to the only place I could think of, my parents. 2 hours on the LIRR, enough time to question everything, replay every birthday, every dinner, every childhood fight. I knocked on their front door, the same one with the chipping paint, the wind chimes shaped like a crescent moon. My father opened it, looked me straight in the face. "Can I help you?" I laughed. Thought he was joking. "It's me," I said, "Nicole." He blinked. "Do we know you?" My mother appeared beside him, drying her hands with a dish towel. "She's lost," she said gently, as if I couldn't hear. "You should call someone." I ran. Didn't stop until I reached the train station. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I picked up, a woman's voice, light, familiar. "You left your keys on the kitchen counter," she said. "I'll keep them safe." I didn't go back. Instead, I booked a motel room near the apartment, waited until the building emptied out for the day. Then I slipped in behind a delivery guy. 5C was locked. The keypad showed a different code, but I remembered the old trick, jiggle the door as you push in hard at the bottom. It worked. Inside, the furniture had changed. My couch was gone, replaced with something blue, velvet. The walls were painted. On the table sat a single photo frame. Same picture, Nicole and Sandy. But this time, the woman in the photo looked more like me, barely. And someone had written over the label, Sandy plus Sandy, 2012. I checked the drawers, hoping for something, anything. But everything inside was hers now. Bills with her name, prescription receipts, makeup I'd never worn, a bag of tea labeled in handwriting that wasn't mine. Until I opened the nightstand, that's when I found it. A second photo, me as a child, 9, maybe 10, holding a birthday cake, standing in front of a fireplace that didn't belong to this building. The girl beside me was the same, every time, same woman, same smile. I took the photo and ran. The super's office was dark, but the door had a simple bolt, easy enough to force open with a credit card. Inside, metal shelves, files, a desk that reeked of cigar ash and plastic, and a drawer, locked. I jammed a screwdriver from the utility bin into the seam, pried it open. Inside were dozens, maybe hundreds of apartment keys, each one labeled, each one with a name, a date. The oldest read, Armando Castillo, reset 1989. The most recent, Nicole Ray, reset last week. I took a photo of the drawer with my phone, and that's when I heard it, a soft motor. Above me, the camera in the corner swiveled, focused. The red light blinked once, then turned solid, recording. I backed away, heart crashing against my ribs. The monitor on the desk flickered on. Black and white footage appeared. The hallway, my apartment door, except the woman on the screen wasn't me, not quite. She moved like me, wore my hoodie, but her posture was different, straighter, eyes too calm. She stared up at the camera, then waved. Slow, deliberate. I left everything and ran back out into the night. Checked into another motel under the name Elena Ruiz. It worked. My new ID said that's who I was. I don't know what's real anymore. Every photo I find, every memory, it's like I'm being replaced by her. Like she's rewriting me, piece by piece. And no one can stop an eviction that already happened. I saw the footage again today. I wasn't in it. But she was. Smiling, living, walking my dog. The end. It started with the coffee machine. Monday morning, I hit the third floor break room like always, 7:43 a.m. sharp. Same burnt smell, same flickering light above the sink, same chipped mug with the pixelated owl that said IT's watching you. But the machine was gone. Just gone. In its place, a silent space on the counter, like it had never been there. I stood there longer than I should have, like the absence would explain itself if I waited long enough. Eventually, I just turned and walked back to my desk. Told myself I was remembering wrong. Except I wasn't. I never am. That's the curse of a routine. You notice when the world nudges something out of place. Tuesday, Amanda's desk was empty. She sat across from me, bright scarves, black nails, talked with her hands, but now it held a monitor still wrapped in plastic, a clean chair, no sign of her. When I asked Jeff where she went, he blinked at me like I'd asked him what planet we were on. There's no one by that name in this department. I laughed. He didn't. Just typed something that looked like gibberish into his laptop and smiled too wide. Maybe you're just tired, Brandon. That's when I started tracking it all. Wednesday, 5 people gone. Cubicles filled with strangers who moved just slightly off beat, like dancers 1 count behind the music. Their eyes didn't quite focus when they spoke. They said my name wrong, too soft, like it tasted strange in their mouths. Thursday night, I stayed late. I told myself it was to back up the servers, but really, I wanted proof. The logs showed strange entries, duplicate timestamps under my own username, scripts I never ran, emails I never sent. At 11:18 p.m., the elevator dinged behind me. I spun too fast and knocked my chair over. Someone stepped out, holding a badge up toward the scanner. The security light blinked green. They walked through the glass doors. Same work shirt, same limp from the time I shattered my ankle snowboarding in college. Same face. I couldn't move. He didn't look at me, just walked right past. His eyes stayed straight ahead, but his mouth was moving, like he was whispering to himself. My name. I bolted out a side exit, heart hammering so hard it echoed in my ears. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat. Just sat in the living room with all the lights on and waited for morning. No one believed me. Not Jeff. Not HR. Not even Lorraine, the office admin who'd once cried to me about her cat dying. They acted like I was new. "We just onboarded you last week, Brandon. You sure you're not confusing buildings?" My ID didn't work Friday morning. When I tried to log in, the system rejected my password. Security asked me to wait in the lobby. A woman came down and offered to help me fill out a job application. I told her I already worked here. She smiled like that was cute. At 3:02 p.m., I got an email from my own address. Subject line, "We're already here." It was time-stamped for 5:46 p.m., same day. I watched the clock, sat in my car in the parking lot, watching the front doors. At exactly 5:46, I saw him again. Me. He walked out with my bag over his shoulder, laughing with Jeff. My laugh. That crooked half-smile I never liked. I followed him. His car was the same. My rusted Honda Civic with the cracked taillight. He drove my route home, parked in my spot, used a key to open my door. I watched from across the street, phone clutched so tight my hand cramped. I waited until the lights went out. Then I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. A woman answered. She had green eyes, curly hair pulled back in a lazy bun, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts. "Bran?" she said, grinning. "You forget your keys again?" My chest went cold. "I don't live here." She tilted her head. "What are you talking about? Come inside." I shook my head. "This isn't my house." She laughed, then reached out and gently touched my arm. Her fingers were warm. "Of course it is." She led me inside. The hallway smelled like home, that faint pine-scented cleaner I liked. There was a framed photo on the entry table, me and my parents at my graduation, except my face wasn't mine, still mine, but different, too smooth, too confident. The smile wasn't hesitant like I remembered. It was full, like he'd never second-guessed anything in his life. "I don't know who you are," I whispered. The woman turned to me. Her eyes were kind. "You're tired. You always get like this when the servers crash." I tried to leave. My hand touched the knob and stuck. Not physically. Just something in my head refused to turn it, like a weight pressing down on the inside of my skull. I looked at the hallway mirror across from the door. He stood in it. Not me. Same clothes, same face, but the reflection wasn't moving like I was. He raised his hand slowly, deliberately, and waved. I didn't. My knees buckled. The woman didn't react. She just stood behind me, arms crossed, humming softly, like this was a routine, like she'd done it 100 times before. I backed away from the door, staring at the mirror. My reflection followed now. I blinked. He smiled. I ran. I don't remember how I got out. The next thing I knew, I was in the parking lot behind the Rite Aid 2 blocks down, shaking, barefoot, holding my phone but no wallet. It wouldn't unlock. Said facial recognition failed. When I tried to use the keypad, the numbers rearranged themselves. I've been locked out ever since. My apartment is rented to someone else. My job has no record of me. My parents say I died 5 years ago in a car accident outside Flagstaff, but I'm still here. Somewhere in this city, he's living my life, wearing my name, loving someone I've never met. Every once in a while, I get another email from me. Last one said, "Don't follow me next time. There's always a next time." The end. They flew me out on a civilian chopper, no military insignia, no names, just coordinates and a sealed file marked /Incident 47A. I remember the cold first, thicker than the wind, like the air itself didn't want to be breathed. They told me it was a viral scare, isolated, contained, needed an epidemiologist to confirm protocol. Nothing in the file made sense, no symptoms, just behavioral anomalies, references to compliance failure and exposure drift. By the time we landed, I already felt wrong. The base was just a shell, Cold War bones left to rot. Main buildings had collapsed or been stripped down to studs. But the observatory, what was left of it, sat like a crown on the hill. Ruined dome, burned signage, no footprints in the snow, and under it, a steel door. No latch, no keypad, just a surface smooth as glass, half covered in moss, except someone had scraped words into the frost. This isn't a bunker, it's a reflection. I should have turned back. I didn't. I radioed in. Static. My pilot never responded. When I looked back toward the chopper, I couldn't even see where it had landed. I pressed my hand to the steel. It clicked open. No resistance. It wasn't just cold inside, it was airless. like the place had been sealed forever and the oxygen was still deciding whether to stay. The staircase spiraled downward, no labels, no lights, just concrete and rust. I descended for what felt like 20 minutes. No sign of mold, no water damage. It smelled preserved. At the base, corridors, metal doors with tiny glass panels, all numbered, not sequentially. Room 08 had mannequins, 3 seated around a table. One held a paper cup midair. Their joints looked fused, melted into their poses. There were cigarette butts in the ashtray, fresh, still warm. Room 12 was darker, red bulb overhead, a single figure standing in the corner, turned away. It didn't move, but when I stepped back to the glass after turning around, it had. Not much, but the left arm was lower. I wrote it off as nerves, optical tricks, adrenaline. That's when I found the logs. A drawer inside an open wall panel. Handwritten notes labeled sessions, COG SUP 14A, 15B, 16Z. Diagrams of brainwave activity. Marginalia about identity reversion and perception latency. Side effects written over in red ink, delayed recognition, autonomic confusion, dissociation drift. The goal was clear, suppress the brain's fear reflex, make soldiers unflinching in combat. But suppression bled into distortion. Subjects stopped recognizing faces. Then they stopped recognizing themselves. I read for hours, or minutes. Time was already starting to slip. At the end of the corridor was a vault door. Newer tech, biometrics. The screen lit up when I approached. No prompt, just scanned me. Then opened. Inside, sterile white shelves, labeled drawers, glass vials and padded foam, most of them empty. Just one container remained. Final batch, observer null. The vial was sealed. Amber fluid, no markings. But the moment I saw it, something flickered behind my eyes, a thump, like a missed heartbeat. I looked at my watch. The second hand was twitching back and forth. Black. I woke up on the floor, not in the storage unit, back near the stairs. My neck ached like I'd fallen. The vial was still in my hand. I put it in my coat pocket. Outside the room, the halls had changed. The numbers were in different orders. Room 04 was now room 19. And the mannequins? Gone. No movement, no sound. Just the weight of that wrong air pressing deeper into my skull. I made my way back toward the surface. The staircase was gone, replaced by another door. Steel, different handle. No way to tell if I was going up or down anymore. I opened it. The room on the other side was my old office. Exactly. Same crack in the desk. Same water stain on the ceiling tile. I could smell the coffee I used to brew. Could hear the soft buzz of the mini fridge. But this office was inside the bunker. There was a calendar on the wall. Today's date circled. Underneath, someone had scrawled in pencil, "Do not acknowledge the mirror I turned." There was no mirror in that room, until now. I approached it slowly. It reflected the room perfectly, my books, my coat, but not me. Just an empty office. My hands started shaking. I checked my coat pocket. The vial was gone. So was my ID badge. I ran. Every door led to a new version of something from my past. My childhood bedroom, complete with the buzzing radiator and torn comic books. The hospital waiting room where my father died. The same flickering TV playing static. And one room, lit in green exit light, was my kitchen. But my daughter was sitting at the table, still, pale, but she never looked up, and her lips moved just once. "Stop remembering," I screamed. No sound came out. The walls pulsed, not visually through pressure, like they were breathing around me. My watch was gone, so was my coat. My hands looked younger, then older, then not mine at all. I reached for the wall to steady myself. It rippled under my palm. Inside my back pocket, I found a notebook. Not mine, but the handwriting matched mine perfectly. Pages filled in already. Today's date at the top. It detailed every room I had just seen, described each one before I'd entered, including a final line, "He will read this, then he will turn around, and he will finally see what's behind him." I dropped the notebook, turned. The mannequin was back, standing in the doorway. But its face was mine, mouth moving, no sound. I ran. My legs burned. Hallways curved in impossible directions. Doors now opened to darkness. I couldn't breathe. And somewhere, beneath all of it, I heard whispers, soft, repetitive. Test subject believes he is the scientist. Test subject believes he is the scientist. The floor dropped out. I woke up in snow. Chopper still idling, pilot waving like nothing happened. I blinked, disoriented. "Sir, you okay? You just stood outside that observatory for like 10 seconds. 10 seconds. I looked at my coat. Empty pockets. No notebook. but inside my sleeve, stitched into the lining, was a label, property of observer null. I didn't say a word, just got back into the chopper. Told them it was a false alarm, but that night I found the notebook again, on my nightstand. New entry written in my own hand. He left the test zone prematurely, initiate phase 2. I don't know when I'm awake anymore. Or if this house, this life, is just another layer. But sometimes, when I stare too long into the bathroom mirror, my reflection doesn't move. The end. The first night, I thought it was the wind. We'd been in the house barely a week, a mid-century ranch with original fixtures, cheap as hell. That should have been my first red flag, but I needed it, needed out. After the divorce, after the custody fight, after moving my kids from school to school like pawns in some cruel puzzle, this house was a reset, a second start. So when I heard the creak, I stayed in bed, just a groan of wood, a shift of air. Old houses breathe, I told myself. I even smiled, but it came again the next night. Different room, same time. 3:11 a.m. I checked on the kids. Ava was twisted in her blanket, mouth open, breathing slow. Cal slept curled up like a comma. Nothing wrong. I went downstairs, checked the doors, all locked, nothing out of place. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling, like I'd missed something by seconds. By week 2, the creaking came every night. Different part of the house, always at 3:11. I set my phone alarm for 3:09. Got up early, waited in the hallway. When it happened, I swear it was the bathroom door this time. Just a soft, drawn-out whine of hinges. I crept over, eased the door open. Nothing, but the toothbrushes had moved. All 3, mine, Ava's, Cal's, now neatly lined up in a different cup. A cup I didn't own. I stared at it too long. My reflection looked off. Not wrong, just slower, like it lagged. I didn't tell the kids. We were still unpacking. They were finally sleeping through the night. I wasn't about to start the cycle of fear. Then Cal stopped calling me Mama. He's 6. He's always called me Mama. But Tuesday morning he walked into the kitchen, sat down and said, "Where's Aaron?" I froze mid-pour. "What did you say?" He blinked at me. "You're not Mama." Ava snorted. "She is, stupid." He looked at me again, expressionless. "No, she's the other one." That night I poured wine and stared at the ceiling. At 3:11 a.m., the guest bedroom door creaked. I didn't go check. I stayed in bed and tried to breathe. The next morning the fridge was full. Milk, oranges, deli meat, all new. I hadn't been shopping. I asked Ava. She shrugged. "You bought it yesterday." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did," she said, annoyed. "You said we needed fresh stuff, remember?" I didn't. I checked my email receipts. Nothing. In fact, my email was empty. Like wiped clean empty. Inbox sent trash, all gone. Calendar blank, contacts erased. I stared at the screen until it dimmed itself. That night I installed cameras, one in each room. Motion triggered, synced to my phone. I went to bed at midnight, phone under my pillow. Woke up to a single notification. Motion detected, 3:11 a.m., dining room. I tapped the video. It showed 24 hours of footage, all normal. Meals, homework, laundry, TV, but no motion at 3:11. I checked each camera. All showed the same, a normal, uninterrupted day. Exactly the same in every video, the same seconds, the same movements. It was a loop. I took the cameras down. I tried leaving the house that day. Took the kids in the car, headed for my sister's place in Oakland. But halfway there, the engine light blinked. Then all the lights. Then the steering wheel locked. We coasted into a ditch. No one was hurt. But the tow guy said something that stuck in my chest. "You really shouldn't drive this far out with no license on file," he said, tapping his iPad. I blinked. "What?" "Nothing comes up when I scan your VIN. No registration. It's like this car doesn't exist." We went back home. There was no other choice. That night, my friend Marissa came for dinner. She noticed nothing weird until dessert. She paused mid-bite, fork hovering. "Do you ever feel like this place is too clean?" I laughed, too loud. "It's not, trust me." "No, I mean," she frowned, "like lived in but untouched." I opened my mouth to reply. Then the lights flickered. Just once. A blink. When they came back, she was gone. I searched every room, yelled her name. Her car was still outside, keys in the ignition, phone in her purse. I called the police. They arrived within 10 minutes, 2 officers, calm, smiling. They took my statement. Then one asked gently, "Ma'am, are you alone in this house?" "What?" "No, my friend. There's no one here. No car, no purse, just you and your children." They walked me through the house. The table was cleared. No plates, no wine glasses, no extra chair. Marissa had vanished. I sat on the stairs for a long time after they left. The next day, Cal handed me a drawing. It was our house. Stick figures, him, Ava, and a woman with long black hair, smiling. "Who's that?" I asked. He stared at me. "That's Mama." I touched my own hair. Blonde, short. "Ava," I called. "Did you help Cal draw this?" She didn't answer. I went upstairs. She was sitting on the bed watching something on her tablet. Except she wasn't. The screen was off. She turned slowly when I entered. "It's almost time," she said. I tried to ask what she meant, but my voice wouldn't come out. At 3:11 that night, I waited in the hallway again. No creak this time. Instead, the door to the basement clicked open. I didn't even know it locked. I stepped down slowly, bare feet on cold cement. The smell hit me first, metallic, electrical, too clean. Then I saw the trapdoor, set into the floor, small. Not part of any blueprint I'd seen. It opened easily. Below, a narrow shaft, ladder rungs, flickering light. I went down and found the control room. Dozens of monitors, all showing different rooms, all showing us. One screen showed me asleep in bed. Another showed me awake, standing in the kitchen, talking to someone invisible. A third showed Marissa, still sitting at the dining table, fork frozen midair. I backed away, then saw the console, big, metal, old, labeled switches and buttons, a screen that read Errand Reset 37. Then Errand Reset 38. I reached for the power toggle. The lights snapped off. When they flickered back, the screen now read Ava Reset 01. Cal Reset 01. I screamed. Hit the switch anyway. The room shuddered. For a moment I was standing in my kitchen, holding a knife I didn't remember picking up. Then I was on the stairs, alone. Then I was back in the basement. The screens had changed again. Now they showed empty rooms, every room empty, except for one screen. It showed me, on the floor, curled up, whispering. I leaned closer. The figure on the screen whispered, "You're not the original." I stumbled back, up the ladder, through the basement door. I tried to wake the kids. Ava wasn't in her bed. Cal's room was empty. I searched the house and found myself again in the kitchen, standing, watching me. I ran. Tried the front door. It wouldn't open. Behind me, the hallway lights began to flicker, one by one. In the reflection on the microwave door, I saw 3 figures, Ava, Cal, and a woman with long black hair, smiling. The end. I moved in on a Tuesday. The building had a smell that didn't quite leave your clothes, like wet carpet and something vaguely electrical. The kind of place you don't look too closely at the walls because you're afraid they might look back. Rent was cheap. Landlord was weirder. "You'll be in 4A, one rule," he said, voice low like he was passing on a family secret. "Don't disturb the tenant in 4B. I blinked. "That the unit next door?" He just nodded. "Has a condition. Sound sets it off. Never knock. Never speak. Don't even stop by the door." "Got it," I said, trying not to laugh. He didn't. I barely slept the first night. Not because of fear, just insomnia. The kind that feels like someone's forgotten to switch off the world behind your eyes. My brain buzzed even when my body gave up. I laid there, counting ceiling cracks and wondering why old buildings always creaked like they were about to confess something. Then I heard it. Footsteps from next door, precise, heel to toe, starting at exactly 4:44 a.m. I turned toward the wall. The second I did, silence. I waited. Nothing. Weird, sure, but I chalked it up to bad timing. You hear all kinds of things in old buildings, pipes, rats, neighbors drunk and pacing. I wasn't about to lose sleep over it. But the same thing happened again the next night. 4:44, 4 steps, silence. I stopped breathing just to hear better. Still nothing. I didn't move until morning. By the third night, I was staring at my phone at 4:43, daring the steps to come. They did. Same rhythm, same pause when I shifted. I didn't sleep at all after that. I started waking up in strange places, once on the kitchen floor, spoon still in hand. Once in the hall, my palm flat against 4B's door like I'd been about to knock. I swear I never moved. I started marking the door frame with a Sharpie every night. Just a little line. The next morning, they'd be gone. No smudge, no trace. Like I was dreaming the marks, or someone didn't want them there. I asked the woman upstairs, old, always in curlers. I said, "Hey, you ever hear the guy in 4B? She didn't blink. just smiled too wide and said, 4B has always been here. The guy on the first floor? Same words. No one's seen him. No one's heard his voice. But every single person says it the same way, like they're reciting a prayer they don't understand anymore. It got under my skin. I tried blasting music. I wore earplugs, slept on the couch. But 444 always came, and the footsteps always knew where I was. One night I found my journal rewritten, pages torn out and replaced with printouts of EEG readings. Scribbled across them, subject shows resistance to REM disruption. My handwriting. Sloppy, but mine. I hadn't written it. I left a note under the door of 4B. Just one line. Who are you? Next morning, the note was back in my room. Same paper, same fold. But in my handwriting it said, don't ask. I stopped leaving my apartment after that. Sleep was fractured, 20 minutes here, an hour there. Always waking to something moved. Lights left on, doors cracked open. My phone started glitching, only showing one alarm, 4:44 a.m. Then I saw it. Me, sleeping in the tub, eyes closed, breathing slow, but I hadn't gone in there. I stood in the doorway staring at myself for what felt like an hour. Then blinked, and the tub was empty. I started wondering if I'd been in 4A at all. Sometimes I'd pass a mirror and my reflection would lag, just for a second, like it hadn't been ready. My eyes looked sunken. I started talking out loud, just to feel normal. The only thing that responded was the hum of the fridge. I stopped checking the time. It didn't help. One night, or maybe day, I couldn't tell anymore. I pressed my ear to 4B's door. I don't know why I did it. I heard a tone, soft, constant, like a hospital monitor with the volume turned all the way down, and breathing, shallow, controlled. Not like sleep, more like waiting. The lock was old. I'd watched enough YouTube videos to know the basics. Took me 4 tries. It clicked. Inside, the air was colder. Not like a room without heat, like a room that had never been lived in. Dust clung to everything except one cleared path through the center. A gurney stood in the middle. Hospital white, steel wheels. Lying on it was me, older, wrinkled around the eyes. Same scar on the chin I got falling off my bike at 12, same chipped tooth, eyes wide open, pupils blown, chest rising and falling like a metronome. Machines lined the walls, EEG monitors, heart rate graphs. Screens with readings that matched my own pulse. I checked. I felt it. Beep, beep. The sound wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from me. I turned away. Just a blink. When I looked back, the gurney was empty. I backed out slowly, heart pounding so loud it drowned everything else out. I shut the door, locked it, ran downstairs. The hall was wrong, longer, blurred at the edges, doors missing, numbers upside down. When I hit the front lobby, it was gone. I stepped outside into daylight. The building wasn't there, just an empty lot behind a rusted fence. Gravel, weeds, a single wooden sign that read Condemned Demolition 2013. I turned back, but there was nothing behind me, just open space. That's when I felt it, the pinch in my arm, cold metal. I woke up strapped to a bed, IV in my vein. A woman leaned over me, adjusting something on a clipboard. Patient 4B is responding to external stimuli, she said, not to me, but to someone behind the glass. I tried to move, speak, nothing worked. Another voice, increased dosage, he's remembering again. Remembering what? My name is Dylan. I live in 4A, I think. I think I used to live in... No, I'm still there. I just need to wake up. I just... Beep, beep, beep. The end. The first time I woke up in the mall, I thought I'd just slept too long. The security lights were already humming. The air smelled like Cinnabon and floor wax. I was still curled behind the Forever 21 dressing room, knees pressed tight to my chest, hoodie drawn over my face like armor. My phone was dead. My bag was missing. But I remembered getting here. Sort of. I'd followed a guy through the service entrance, right after the subway. Or before. No one stopped me. That was the weird part. When I finally stepped out into the concourse, people were walking around, like normal. Coffee in hand, strollers, store clerks flicking open gates. Music was playing, same song on loop. It was Tuesday, I was sure. But no one seemed surprised to see me, not even the security guard who passed by, nodding politely, as if I'd always been there. I followed him, tried asking where the exit was. He laughed. Exit, he said, like I'd asked where the sky went. No such thing. Then he kept walking. I thought he was messing with me. until I reached the food court doors and saw it. Where the glass entrance should have been, there was just smooth, unbroken plaster, like someone had sealed it off with drywall and painted it to match. No seams, no hinges, not even a smudge where the push bar used to be. I ran my hands over it, then my fists. It was solid, cold. No one looked twice. I asked a woman holding a Macy's bag if she remembered how she got here. She blinked at me. I work retail. Right, but what day is it? Sales day. Then she smiled and walked off. I tried the staff corridor, the emergency exits, the bathrooms, one by one. Every path out was the same, blocked, disguised, erased. By the time I circled back to the main concourse, the same mall music was still playing. I swear it was the same song. That night, the lights dimmed all at once. Like someone flipped a goddamn switch. Shoppers didn't go home. They just wandered into the storefronts, like rats trained to sleep in display beds. I curled behind the dressing room again, shaking. The next morning, it happened all over again. Lights on, music, people, no clocks, no phones, just endless daylight under fluorescent glow. By day 3, I stopped asking. Nobody noticed that there weren't any children. No crying babies, no smells of outside, no rain, no traffic, no gas fumes, just the mall's recycled air, cinnamon sugar, and burnt popcorn. I made a mental map, tried marking hallways with mascara streaks. They vanished the next day. I stopped sleeping right. I kept seeing flashes, stairs, a train door, blood on linoleum. My school bag, Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. Everyone else called it sales day, and every morning someone was gone, quietly. No announcements, no panic. They were just not there anymore. No one talked about it. I once saw a guy screaming near the sunglass hut. Security dragged him into the service hallway. When I passed by later, the hallway didn't exist. I started eating from the food court just to blend in. At least I could taste something real. Greasy fries, warm soda. But it all started tasting the same after a while. Even the water. Then came the elevator. I found it by accident. I dropped my tray, chased a rolling plastic fork behind the food court freezer, and found a sliver of light bleeding through a seam in the wall. It led to a freight elevator, unmarked, no buttons except one, exit. I stared at it until my throat dried up, pulled out the mall's loaner phone. They handed them out at the info desk like name tags, and took a picture. It showed me. Just me, no elevator. I showed it to a girl I trusted. Her name was Denise. She folded clothes at Old Navy like a machine. When I held the phone out, she frowned. "That's you," she said. "What do you see behind me?" She hesitated. "Wall." I tried again the next morning. Same result. Different girl. No elevator. So I did what anyone would do. I went in. The doors closed soundlessly. The light inside the elevator was weird, flat and gray, like a hospital room without walls. The button was already lit. Then it went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the dressing room. Same position, same clothes. I checked the phone. New picture. Just my face. A little more tired this time. I thought I'd imagined it. Maybe I was spiraling again. I'd done that before. After Mom, after the court stuff, after the shelters. But I found it again. Same way, same button. And I went in again, and again. Each time I woke up in the same place, until I checked the surveillance room. I'd bribed one of the guards with a candy bar, said I needed to see if I dropped something. He let me in, barely looking up. I scrubbed through footage, found myself entering the elevator 7 times, but never leaving. I stopped breathing for a second. Then the screen flickered, and I saw something else. In the reflection of the elevator door, just for a second, I wasn't alone. A hand on my shoulder. The next night, I ran, didn't sleep, kept whispering my name, my birthday, my old address, anything to remember I wasn't supposed to be here. No one cared. They were setting up decorations for some holiday I didn't recognize, Customer Loyalty Day. I made one last video, just in case. "Exit exists," I said. "If you're seeing this, don't trust what you see." I showed it to Denise. She blinked. "There's no video," she said. The phone was blank. Later, she asked me something. "Why are you pretending to be new?" I didn't answer. That night, I went in for the 8th time. I don't remember pressing the button. I just remember opening my eyes to light. Warm, natural, but the mall looked the same, until I saw the people. They weren't the same. New shoppers, new guards, new names, same rules. Then someone handed me a badge. Manager, it read. They all greeted me like I'd been there forever. I checked the elevator. Still there. Button still said exit. I didn't press it, didn't move, until a girl approached. She looked maybe 16, dirty hoodie, wide eyes. She asked, "Where's the exit?" I smiled before I could stop myself, and in the reflection of the glass behind her, I saw my face, still smiling. The end. I thought it was spam at first. The email came at 3:08 a.m., marked high priority, with a subject line that just said, "Opportunity." No company logo, no recruiter's signature, just a plain white background and one sentence. "Jackson Muir, you are eligible for contract employment. High compensation, immediate start. Respond to accept." I clicked before I even finished reading. 10 months of unemployment had thinned me out. The kind of thin where your gums start to feel loose and you flinch when the phone rings. So yeah, I clicked. They never asked for a resume. No interview, just another email encrypted this time with a login and password. The platform was minimal, white text on black. A single tab, firewall logs. My job was to watch them. That's it. At first it was quiet. Lines of IP addresses, some flagged red, others green. I had to restore access when it blocked an internal user. Simple. Boring. But safe. Then I saw a username I didn't recognize, jmuir32. I hovered over it. It had full admin privileges. Created at 4:19 a.m. while I was asleep. The access history showed it had been opening a document repeatedly. Something called Core Instruction Set v3.2. I clicked it. The screen blinked just once, and then the document loaded. It wasn't text. It was code, but not like any script I'd seen. More like directives, behavioral instructions. Things like adjust tone for increased empathy response, optimize sleep schedule for peak compliance, maintain hydration protocol for skin fidelity. I read those lines over and over until I noticed something at the top. Subject, Jackson Muir. My chest felt tight. I closed the document and sat back, rubbed my palms against my thighs until I could feel again. Probably just a joke, or a test. 2 days later, the logs filled with duplicates. Same username accessing files minutes apart. Sometimes seconds, same name, different IPs. I sent a message to support, no reply. The inbox just blinked, message queued. That night I dreamed I was at work, same desk, same screen, but I wasn't me. My arms were longer, paler. The way I typed looked learned, like someone pretending to be human. When I woke up, my keyboard was upside down. That morning, a new folder appeared in the logs, surveillance capture. The files were named with timestamps. I clicked one. It was me, sitting at my desk. Same gray hoodie, same chipped mug. But the camera angle was wrong. It was from above, like a ceiling view. I don't have a ceiling camera. Another file loaded automatically. This one showed me again, same time, same day, but from behind. I watched myself scratch my neck, stand up, walk away. Except I didn't remember leaving my desk that day. Not once. I slammed the laptop shut, paced the apartment. Every corner felt unfamiliar, like it had shifted a few inches in the night. My couch looked slightly darker, the walls too clean. I reached for my phone and called the only number the company had listed, disconnected. So I emailed again, wrote in all caps, "Who are you? Who is watching me?" The response came an hour later. One sentence. "There is no Jackson Muir employed at this organization." I laughed. Like a full chest laugh that turned to a cough halfway through. I opened my banking app to prove them wrong. My stomach dropped. No deposits, no record of payment, not even a pending transfer. My savings were untouched, like nothing had been added in months. The account history just ended. I opened my door and looked down the hall. My name was gone from the mailbox. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Out onto the street, I flagged a cab and gave him the address from the original offer email. The driver looked at me like I was speaking a different language. "You sure? That place has been fenced off for years. Nothing there." He wasn't wrong. When we got there, it was an empty lot, just rebar, dirt, and half a chain-link fence that rattled in the wind. A man sat curled near the edge, face hidden under a torn hood. I turned to walk away. Then he said it. "They don't let the versions keep living." I stopped. He looked up. It was me. Not just similar, it was my face, my eyes, my mouth, but older, tired, like I'd been living rough for years. My knees buckled, I stumbled backward, shaking, reached for my phone, no signal, no apps, just a blinking notification. Trial expired, termination scheduled. I ran, didn't think, just ran. I got home and found the door wide open. Everything gone, no furniture, No clothes, walls stripped bare, even the fridge was missing. The only thing left was the laptop, sitting in the middle of the floor, open. I walked to it slowly, like approaching a bomb. The screen was already active. Your replacement has been activated. My vision blurred. My ears rang. I shut the lid and turned, ready to bolt, and froze. He was standing in the doorway. Same height, same clothes, but cleaner, brighter, like I'd been polished. His eyes looked through me. "I don't know what I am," I said. He tilted his head just slightly. "I do," he said. Then he smiled. The same smile I'd been practicing on video calls. Polite, friendly, reassuring. He stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. I backed into the corner, hands up. "I'm not supposed to exist," I said. "They made a mistake." He nodded. "They're correcting it." I lunged for the window, shoved it open, tried to climb out, but he didn't chase me. He just sat down at the laptop and started typing. My fingers itched watching him. I knew every keystroke he made before he made it. My body wanted to copy him. I turned and ran again. Didn't stop until I was blocks away. I ducked behind a dumpster and cried for a long time. Then I checked my phone again. New notification. Final report, version 3.1 non-compliant. Recycle order issued. I looked up, half expecting drones or spotlights. Nothing. Just the quiet of the street. Except, across the road, near a parked car, someone watched me. I could tell by the stillness, the way they didn't blink. Another me. Wearing a suit this time. The end. I didn't want the house. That's the first thing I said when the lawyer handed me the key, some brittle old brass thing in a velvet pouch like a cursed wedding ring. He smiled too long when I asked if it came with money. Just said, "It's yours now, Miss Bakar. All of it." I never met my Uncle Rayid, never even saw a photo. My mother called him the family ghost, like a joke. Said he went strange in the 70s, fell in with some weird people out west, and vanished. But apparently, he owned a house in Brooklyn, and when he died, he left it to me. I should have sold it, but I was raw from the divorce. 42, no kids, no plan, just this gnawing need to claim something, anything, as mine. So I moved in. The place was weird, but not haunted movie weird. Just wrong. Every room looked like it had been paused in 1981, yellow wallpaper curling like dried petals, floral couches sunken in the middle. The air tasted like mothballs and copper. A sealed room upstairs had 3 padlocks on it, all rusted shut. I never forced it. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked non-stop, even though the plug was frayed and dangling. Every night it chimed at 3:17. Not midnight. Not witching hour. Just that. I told myself it was just a fixer-upper with personality. 3 weeks in, I started hearing footsteps above my bedroom. Always slow, heavy. Always stopping right over my bed. By the 4th week, I packed a suitcase, rented a storage unit, and left. I moved to Philadelphia. New job, new apartment, 3rd floor walk-up with sun and street noise and zero creepy energy. I paid movers to bring my stuff. I didn't bring the house, but the house came anyway. It showed up the second morning, 2 blocks from my new place, just sitting on the corner like it had always been there. Same yellow wallpaper in the window, same dead porch light, same goddamn grandfather clock ticking behind the door. I laughed. Actually laughed. Thought it was a replica, a glitch, a bizarre coincidence. I walked the block 10 times. Asked a neighbor how long the house had been there. He said, "Since always." "You okay?" I tried taking a photo. My phone buzzed, screen went black. When it rebooted, the picture showed just a blank lot. Nothing. I wrote about it in my journal. The entry was gone by morning. I moved again. Pittsburgh. This time I picked the place online, moved same day, didn't tell a soul. It took the house 2 days to show up. It was faster now. My neighbor died the day after. Stroke, they said. Her body wasn't found for 3 days, not until the smell reached the hallway. I saw the ambulance lights from my window. I could see the house too, right behind the medics, silent and waiting. It sat there like it knew. I started keeping notes in a safe. Written longhand, copies hidden in books. One line repeated over and over, "Do not go inside." But I did. When my boss's wife died, an aneurysm, again sudden, I saw the pattern. Each death mapped to a room in the house. The neighbor? The living room. My boss's wife? Kitchen. The rooms pulsed in my head like bruises. I thought if I faced it, really looked, I'd understand it. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. Inside, it smelled like wet plaster and ammonia, same ticking from the clock. The furniture had dust but no decay, and the sealed room upstairs, the padlocks were open. Inside, just a chair facing the wall, and on the wall scratched so deep it cut into the drywall. You don't leave the house leaves you. I ran. I didn't sleep that night. Every blink brought that room back. Chair, wall, message deeper than paint. I called a realtor the next day, told her I wanted to sell a property. She paused, then said, "Which one?" I hadn't told her anything yet. I hung up. I tried fire next. Found the original house in Brooklyn again. Still standing, boarded now. I poured gasoline on the steps, lit a match, and watched it take. The house didn't burn. The flames curled up and away, like the air bent them. I stood there for 20 minutes and the place didn't even smolder. I cried in the car afterward. Not out of fear, out of exhaustion, like fighting something that had already eaten me. The house was on my street the next morning, 2 doors down. I opened the attic that night. I don't know why. Some compulsion, like it was calling. The air inside was thick, heavier than it should have been, like breathing through a wet cloth. Journals, dozens, mold-spotted, aged, written in different hands, all with the same date structure, day, time, room. Each ended the same way, mid-sentence, just stopped. Except one, my uncle's. The last page read, "It knows you're reading, don't sell it, don't leave it. The house doesn't need walls, it needs you." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then the clock chimed, 3:17. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, back inside, now. I dropped the phone, grabbed my coat, ran. I stayed in hotels, slept in airports, told myself I could outrun it, but the house always came. Last week it showed up before I did. I'd booked a cottage in Vermont, drove 8 hours, got out of the car, and there it was, sitting behind the gas station. No foundation, just sitting. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. That night my sister died. Car crash. Her GPS had glitched. She'd ended up in a river. The officer said she kept trying to turn off a reroute that wouldn't cancel. I dreamed of her that night. She stood in the sealed room, eyes hollow, voice not hers. "You're the last. Come home." I think I broke something. In my head. In reality. I don't know. The house doesn't wait anymore. It appears everywhere. I see it in reflections, in alleyways, in dreams, in places it couldn't fit. I saw it in the mirror behind me once, its front door slowly opening. Last night, the attic door in my rental creaked open. I don't have an attic. But I went up anyway. The steps were wrong. Too steep, too long. The attic was the same, always the same. A chair, a wall. This time, a mirror on the wall. And behind me in the reflection, the house. Not from outside, from inside. It was inside me. I'm writing this by hand, multiple copies, one in the freezer, one buried, one burned. Because maybe if someone reads this, really reads it, they'll know not to. The end. They reassigned her. That's what they told me. Administrative redirect, they called it. Standard review. Nothing to worry about. But that voice, hers, didn't go with her. It stayed. It stayed with me. The first time I met her, she wouldn't sit, just stood by the window with her back straight and her arms slack, like someone listening to something outside we couldn't hear. "They said you were different," she said. I didn't know what that meant, so I asked about the voices. "They don't talk to me," she whispered. "They talk through me. I'm just the signal." I ran through the usual scripts, auditory hallucinations, delusional patterning, trauma-induced projection. But she wasn't chaotic or confused. She was rehearsed. And then she said it. "Don't take the overpass tonight. A man will jump. You'll hear the scream but not see the body. Don't look for it." I laughed it off. I shouldn't have. An hour after I left, traffic stalled on I-93, red and blue lights. A body had landed just feet from my car. I didn't look, but I heard the scream, exactly like she said. That night, I reopened her file. Pages were missing. Scanned notes showed blank under audio hallucination content. I was sure I'd written something. The next day, I told admin. They nodded too quickly, too politely. "We'll reassign her, Dr. Weir. Thank you for reporting." No mention of the missing notes. No follow-up questions. Just that same phrase from both my supervisors. "You've done enough." It didn't sound reassuring. It sounded like a warning. The new therapist never introduced themselves. Her slot on the calendar vanished, and 2 days later the voice started. At first it was soft like my own internal monologue, but not quite me. A parallel track, calm, slightly deeper than my voice. You missed a step. Backtrack and lock your car. Someone's watching. I laughed. I turned to look. No one there. Still, I locked the car. The voice got clearer, and it was always right. Your 2 p.m. will cancel. They did. Your tire pressure's low, left rear. It was. Don't answer that call, you'll say something wrong. I didn't, but later I saw the voicemail, a complaint filed against me, aggression during therapy, unsanctioned methods, threats. None of it happened. I never took the call, but they believed it anyway. A week later, my license was suspended for review. Official reason, client instability, safety protocol. Unofficially, no one would look me in the eye. Not even Lisa, my assistant of 4 years. She handed me my mail and whispered, "They said you'd take it badly." I didn't ask who they were. I didn't have to. I was hearing the same voice she probably had. The transcripts started arriving by post, typed, double-spaced, unmarked envelopes. They were conversations, verbatim, between me and patients I hadn't seen yet, thoughts I hadn't had, arguments with colleagues I hadn't spoken to. Each one ended with the same phrase, "We're not rewiring you, Alan. We're restoring the original script." I drove to her listed address, the one from her intake form, pre-reassignment. It wasn't a house. It wasn't even an apartment. It was a church basement, empty pews, burnt-out candles, no signage outside. Just a side door cracked open, a faint hum behind it, like radio static. I stepped in and pulled the door shut behind me. No lock, no knob on the inside. The hum stopped. The walls were lined with paper, thousands of pages stapled edge to edge, neat rows. Each page was a transcript. Each one had my name in it. Arguments, pleas, crying, sessions I didn't remember, but the words, they sounded like me. And one transcript on the far wall froze me in place, because it was me, begging, "Please stop, I don't want to be rewritten again." And the reply, "You were never the therapist, you were the patient." I stepped back, my foot hit something. A recorder, cassette, red light blinking, it clicked on, and then I heard her voice again, the woman from before. But this time she wasn't predicting, she was reminding. "Dr. Weir, how many sessions did you think we had?" My knees buckled. I dropped. The air smelled like bleach and mold and something old, familiar. She kept talking. "Do you remember the real intake?" "No. They told you to forget. That was the protocol." The light above me buzzed, flickered, went dark, silence. Then my voice, from the recorder. "Why would I pretend to be a doctor?" Click, another voice answered. "You asked to be one. It made you feel safe." I crawled to the door, still no handle. The transcripts rustled behind me. Pages peeled and fluttered, like they were breathing. One detached, floated down. It landed face up on my knee, newly typed, warm to the touch. Subject Weir attempted re-escape via delusional identity restoration. Procedure incomplete. Voice module still active. My hands shook. I looked for a seam in the wall. Nothing. The room was closed. The recorder clicked again. My voice again. "No one ever told me I was the patient." And her reply, distorted, layered with static. "That's because you were doing so well, Alan. We didn't want to break you again." My mouth dried. My teeth felt loose. The voice was inside now. Not a sound, but a pressure behind my ears. It told me to sit. It told me to listen. So I did. Outside, no one knew I was here. Or maybe, no one believed I ever was. Because if I was the patient and they let me pretend to be a doctor, then how many others were pretending too? And what was left of me before they gave me this role? I sat in the chair in the center of the room. It was already warm. Another page fluttered down from the ceiling. This one wasn't typed, it was handwritten. One sentence. "You volunteered." And I remembered. The headaches, the silence. The white room with no corners, the voice that told me I wasn't safe in my own mind, the one that promised to protect me, the one I let in. I cried. Not because I was afraid, because I'd agreed to this. Whatever this was, a protocol, a script, an illusion. The voice whispered again, just one word. Reset, and the lights went out. The end. They said the dreams wouldn't be real. Just lucid echoes, Dr. Jansen had assured me, tapping her pen against the clipboard like he didn't see my hands trembling. Your brain pulling shadows into storylines. Let it happen. I told myself that too. At first, it was the second week of the study when I saw Eli's casket. Closed, matte black, too small for someone his size. Everyone wore gray. No one spoke. I reached out to touch the edge of the coffin, and someone behind me whispered, soft, deliberate, "You're the last one." I woke up gasping into the lab pillow, electrodes tugging at my scalp. The room smelled like antiseptic and something faintly sweet, like rotting lilies, a scent that didn't belong. Eli was still alive that morning, laughing in the break room, biting into a protein bar. By noon, his name was scrubbed from the hallway directory. I stood outside where his office should be, Suite 406, next to the vending machine, and found only a smooth wall. No door, no keypad, no trace. I asked Annie if she'd seen him. "Who?" she blinked, furrowing her brow. "We don't have an Eli." I didn't argue. I just went to the bathroom and sat in the stall, fists pressed into my eyes until colors bloomed. My chest hurt like something had curled inside it and grown claws. That night, I slept with the light on, but it didn't help. The next dream was for Marta. She'd been my roommate in undergrad, still used too many exclamation points in her texts. I hadn't seen her in years, but in the dream, I sat in a white chapel with blue-stained glass, listening to a priest mispronounce her last name. The windows flickered like dying fluorescent bulbs. Her mother didn't cry. No one did. At the end, that same voice again, male, close, wrong. "You're the last one." I called Marta the next day. It rang twice, then static, then a tone I didn't recognize. I Googled her. There was a post on her alumni page, in memoriam, no photo, no cause. Her LinkedIn was gone, so was her number. My old group text showed nothing. I stopped sleeping for 3 days after that. On the 4th, I crashed during the scan. 10 minutes into REM, the system spiked red and the lab AI dumped me out. They said I was talking in my sleep, not just murmuring, but reciting things. Strings of numbers, names, obituaries, over and over. Dr. Jansen looked pale when she showed me the printout. "You've been naming people who've died, not just ones you know. Public figures, locals, some going back decades. We don't know how you're doing this." Neither did I. But I knew I needed to stop. I asked to leave the study. She said no. "Zoe, you signed an 8-week consent. Early withdrawal nullifies compensation and restricts external disclosure. You'd lose everything. Everything." I couldn't even remember what everything that was supposed to be anymore. Week 5, I dreamed of Dennis. Security guard, ex-military, kind eyes. We used to chat about his daughter, Chloe. She drew dinosaurs. His funeral was outdoors, rain pounding the closed casket. Someone clutched a sodden drawing, pink crayon, a smiling stegosaurus. The edges bled ink. The coffin sank too quickly, like the dirt had been waiting. "You're the last one," the voice said again. The next morning, no one at the facility knew Dennis. The front desk had a new guard. I asked for Chloe. They asked if I needed psychiatric support. I started recording myself, placed a phone under the pillow, on airplane mode. What I heard on the playback chilled me. It wasn't just the muttering, it was the tone. Detached, robotic, like someone reading a list from a distance. Between the numbers, there were bursts of static, and buried inside that static, I heard my voice, layered, like echoes folding in on themselves. I said one name I didn't recognize, Dr. Jansen. Then a date, June 18th, it was June 17. I drove to the lab at 3 a.m. Her office was dark. No pictures, no books, no coffee mug, just a faint smell of ammonia and the slight hum of a monitor left on. But when I logged into the terminal, her ID had been deactivated. I ran a trace, pulled archived footage from the REM monitor feeds. Week 2, Eli's death week. I watched myself twitch in sleep, mouth moving. At the 3:17 a.m. mark, the video cut to static. But the audio didn't. It played something else, me but not me, whispering, "The sleeper was the dream. The sleeper was the dream. The sleeper." I yanked the headphones off. Then I heard it outside the room. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. I ducked under the desk, held my breath. The lab doors hissed open. Someone entered. I peeked. It was her. Dr. Jansen, or someone with her face. Not quite right. Too symmetrical. Too still, like she was remembering how to be her. She stood at the console, plugged in a drive. The monitors blinked. One by one, my name vanished from the file logs. I waited until she left. Then I ran. I didn't go home. I didn't have one anymore. My phone was wiped. My ID didn't scan. My name didn't appear in the lab roster. I checked my old email. The inbox was empty. I tried calling Annie. Her number was no longer in service. Everyone I knew, gone. deleted, as if they'd never existed. I drove 6 hours west to a motel with buzzing lights and cracked tile. I paid cash, didn't sign my name. I tried not to sleep, but I did. In the final dream, I was alone. White room, no sound, just a mirror in the middle, propped like a casket. My reflection inside it, eyes closed, hands folded, lips moving silently. The nameplate read, Zoe Kim. The sleeper was the dream. I wanted to scream, but my throat didn't work. Behind me, the voice returned. Only this time it wasn't whispering, it was laughing. Long, low, familiar. You were never awake. I woke up soaked in sweat. The mirror from the dream, it stood in the corner of the motel room, waiting. The end. They gave me a cake, chocolate sheet, heavy with frosting, neatly cut, my name piped in blue. Congratulations on your retirement, Paul. I ate a slice. It tasted like cardboard. The office clapped, even Janice from HR, who once told me my cologne smelled like her dad's coffin. Then they all went back to their desks. No speeches, no gold watch, just a 2-minute break and back to work. When I got to the parking lot, my badge didn't deactivate. Still opened the gate like any other Monday. I figured it was a glitch. Tuesday, my pension paperwork came back flagged. Form 18A incomplete, the email said, even though I'd filled it out with that same pinched pen they issued me in '81. When I called HR, Janice said, "Oh, you're not due for retirement for another 10 years, Mr. Navarro." 10, I laughed. She didn't. Wednesday, my cubicle was gone, replaced by a larger office 2 doors down. New nameplate, Paul Morrow. Observer. I stared at it until my jaw clicked. My last name's Navarro, has been my whole life. I tried to correct it. The system wouldn't let me log in. It recognized my face just fine. But every page welcomed Mr. Morrow. That night, I found a file on my desk, cream-colored, no label except in red stamped letters, internal memory audit, inside blank forms, labeled with the years I'd worked here, every single year. I thumbed through the pages until my hand cramped. No instructions, no signatures, just empty grids and timestamps I couldn't remember ever logging. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder when I closed the folder. Thursday, I went to call my daughter. I hadn't seen her in months. Her name's Clara. She works in Oregon, some kind of soil science thing. Smart girl, always hated this job. She answered on the second ring. "Hello, Clara? It's Dad." Pause. "Oh, Mr. Morrow, you have the wrong number." My stomach turned. "Clara, what the hell?" Click. I called again. Disconnected. I sat in my car a long time after that. The mirror showed my eyes sunken in, like wet cork. I didn't go home. I didn't know where home was. Friday morning, my wrist hurt. I looked down. A watch. Not mine. Silver face, matte black band. Same kind every person in the office wore. I didn't buy it. I never wear watches. They pressed too hard on the bone. I tried to take it off. Wouldn't budge. When I got to my desk, my new desk, the camera was already on. Little black lens embedded in the monitor base. Blinking red. I leaned in. It blinked faster. The file was still there. Internal memory audit. Except now it wasn't blank. My handwriting, crooked, exact, filled in the first page, describing events I never remembered. March 3rd, 1989, corrected Form 247F. April 19th, 2002, logged discrepancy in carbon files. Line after line of clerical trivia. I kept reading until I hit the bottom. One note, subject remains unaware of orientation stage completion. Recommends soft loop initiation. My name wasn't anywhere on the page. I wasn't the subject. I was the observer. That night I stayed late, past cleaning hours. At 11:46 p.m. someone slid a note under my door. No sound. Just movement in the edge of the monitor's reflection. The note said, "The last man who left still works on the 13th floor." I froze. We don't have a 13th floor. I checked the elevator anyway. Button panel stopped at 12, but there was a faint groove where a button might have been, almost smooth, almost hidden. I pressed it. Nothing happened. When I turned around, the hallway wasn't mine. Fluorescence flickered. Carpet was new. No coffee stains. Doors numbered in 4 digits instead of 3. A woman passed me, smiling too wide. She wore the watch. I said, "Excuse me, what floor is this?" She didn't stop. "All floors are compliant." I found a stairwell, locked, alarmed. I pressed my badge. The lock clicked open. The stairwell was dark, no bulbs, just that old dust smell, metallic and dry. Every landing looked the same. I counted silently. 10, 11, 12. Unmarked door, cold handle. I opened it. Inside, cubicles. Dozens, each one identical. Metal, plastic, no personality. Men and women sat inside them, typing. No sound except the keys, no talking. They all looked off, faces too smooth, postures perfect. Each wore the same watch, each had the same photo on their wall. An old family portrait, the faces blurred. I walked past one man. He didn't look up. His fingers typed without pause. The nameplate said Paul Navarro. I stopped breathing. I leaned closer. It was me, not younger, not older, just still typing. I whispered, "Paul?" He didn't blink, just typed. I backed away, stepped on a paperclip. It snapped under my shoe. He paused, then looked up, smiled. "Ready for your review?" I ran. Down the stairwell, into the parking garage. I fumbled with my keys. The fob didn't respond. My car was gone. In its place, another car. Same model, same license plate, but spotless. Interior reset. The watch on my wrist buzzed. A text flashed across its face. "Return to desk for final observation review." I ripped it off. Skin came with it. Blood smeared the window as I tried to climb in. I drove, anywhere, out of the garage, past the gate, onto streets I didn't recognize. No street signs, no lights, just buildings. All glass, all reflecting nothing. I drove until the gaslight came on, then farther. Eventually the road circled back, to the office, front lot empty, but the lights were on. My badge still worked, my desk was waiting, camera blinking, folder open. 2 words written across the last page, "You stayed." The lights dimmed, footsteps behind me. I turned, it was me again, smiling. Same suit, same gray hair, same bloodied wrist. He handed me another folder, sealed, black. "Last review, Paul." I said nothing. He tilted his head. "You are Paul, right?" I tried to say yes, nothing came out, just a hum, like an old hard drive spinning up. He laughed. "They always forget during audit week." Then he vanished, and the monitor blinked once, then twice. Then said, "Welcome, Mr. Morrow." The end. They said I signed for it at 3:17 p.m. I was still on lunch at 3:17, sitting in my car, dipping fries into garlic mayo, watching a pigeon limp past the rear mirror like it owed rent. I remember because my phone had just buzzed with a spam call. Then the work tablet pinged, package delivered, signed, Rafiq Choudhury. My name, my route, my tablet. But I hadn't delivered anything yet. I stared at the address, Unit 6B, 1030 Ferndale Court. The red flagged one. I knew it instantly. That place had been condemned after a fire last winter. I'd seen the police tape. Hell, the whole floor was blackened like a burnt matchbox. No one lived there. No one could. And yet, someone signed. I radioed dispatch, told them it was probably a system glitch, computer error, mistaken routing. The woman on the other end paused too long. "We show full delivery, Rafiq," she finally said. Photo uploaded, time stamped. "Looks like you standing in front of 6B holding the scanner." "That's not me." Another pause, then a short laugh. "Must be your twin, huh?" That humming started after sundown. Low, mechanical, like a refrigerator buried deep under concrete. Not loud, but wrong. I heard it in the back of the van first. Thought maybe one of the backup power inverters was shorting. I climbed in. The air inside shifted, warm and stale. A metallic aftertaste coated my mouth. There was a single box at the center. No label, no barcode, just a plain brown parcel about the size of a shoebox. It vibrated softly, like it was breathing. I didn't remember loading it. The second I touched it, the scanner on my hip flickered. I checked the screen. Delivery confirmation received. Then a line I hadn't seen before. Final cycle, in transit. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from fear, not yet. But something was off. My alarm clock blinked the wrong time. Every time I fixed it, it jumped back 3 minutes. The hallway light kept switching itself on and off, rhythmically, like it was pacing. Static crackled in my left ear, real soft, like someone whispering too close. I checked the mirror. My reflection didn't blink when I did. By morning, I decided to return the box, only I couldn't find the mailroom. I parked at the depot, entered through the usual side gate, but the inside was wrong. Walls too narrow, ceiling low, like the building had shrunk overnight. Familiar doors, only mislabeled. Locker 12 now read Locker U. I found my supervisor, or I thought I did. Rajiv, beard, glasses, same work vest. I walked right up to him. He looked confused. "Can I help you?" "Funny," I said, holding up the box. "I was about to ask you the same thing." He frowned, This area is restricted, employees only. I am. What? You don't work here. He was serious. Behind him, my ID badge lay on a desk. Same name, same photo. But the corner was burned. The date of hire read 2011. I was 16 in 2011. I ran, drove aimlessly until the GPS rerouted. No matter where I turned, the van recalculated and forced me back into the same loop. New addresses flashed on the screen, but they all shared the same name, Archuduri. 10 houses, all fake. I picked one, knocked on the door, no answer. Just a hallway mirror inside, reflecting the front step, only empty. I wasn't in it. I opened the box in a fit of rage. Inside was a tablet, same make and model as mine, but the screen glowed on its own, no power source. It played a video of me opening the box, the same room, same angle, except a little shorter each time. 5 minutes, then 4, then 3. My face more frantic, my voice higher, until the last one ended in me grabbing the camera, screaming, "Turn it off!" I flung the box. It hit the wall. The hum didn't stop. I crushed the tablet, but the screen just split into 2 smaller ones, both still playing the same clip, over and over. Each time I looked, the footage had changed slightly. I blinked wrong. My shirt was red instead of blue. My hand moved before my brain gave the order. The loop was evolving. Something inside me, inside the box, was learning. By the 3rd day, clocks didn't count forward. They stalled, clicked, then reversed in half-second bursts. The van smelled like ozone and old pennies. I lost track of time. My own voice echoed even when I wasn't speaking. Just walking produced footfalls behind me that didn't belong. I called my mother. The number disconnected. Then it rang, but a child picked up, whispered, "Stop watching," then laughed. My own shadow started glitching. It moved differently, lagged a little, then sped up. I tested it. Lifted my right hand. It followed, delayed. Then I lowered it. The shadow stayed raised. I moved. It didn't. It turned its head toward me. I passed out. When I woke up, the van doors were open. The box sat on the pavement, multiplying. 6 now, then 8, then 20, each humming in a slightly different tone. A mechanical choir. Every one bore a label, returned to sender, you. I tried burning one. It hissed, screamed, then split in half, and now I had 2. Smashing didn't help. I crushed one with a tire jack. The pieces convulsed and grew into new parcels. I thought maybe burying them would work. Dug a hole behind my building, threw one in, covered it, went back inside. It was on my kitchen counter, waiting. I checked the delivery app. No routes listed, just one line flashing in red. Only transit, never destination. Then another message appeared, frame by frame. Recipient confirmed, you. I laughed, or something like laughter. My face felt like it belonged to someone else. I opened one last box. Inside wasn't a tablet this time. It was a mirror, not glass, something thicker, wet-looking, like the inside of an eye. I saw myself, infinite and small, and something else. At the center, staring through. It mimicked my face, but not the expression. It grinned. Then it leaned forward. I dropped it, ran outside. The van was gone. Only a long, blank hallway remained, stretching where the street should be. Fluorescent lights flickered above. I followed. I don't remember sleeping or eating. I only remember walking, and more boxes appearing, stacked neatly along the corridor, labeled with newer versions of my name. Rafiq 6, Rafiq Final, Rafiq Pending Receipt. I scream sometimes, just to check if I'm still here. The walls absorb it. When I try to stop walking, the hallway stutters. The lights flicker faster. My skin itches, like reality's trying to slove me off. I tried writing this down once. The letters reversed, then repeated, then wrote themselves before I could. I think I'm inside the object now, or it's inside me. I don't know where I end and the loop begins. One of the shadows started talking today. It asked in my voice, "Who delivered you?" The end. I didn't check my voicemail for 3 days. No reason, really. Just one of those weeks where the idea of pressing one more button felt like a collapse. 33 and barely sleeping, buried in red-welled folders at a downtown firm where no one remembered birthdays, but everyone noticed typos. The usual. Monday night, after skipping dinner again, I finally thumbed it open. Just one new message. No caller ID. I pressed play. The voice was mine, whispering. 42.6, 74.1, Friday, 4:13 a.m., don't forget again. Then a click. No background noise, just silence. I laughed. Because what else do you do? Weird prank. Maybe AI. Deepfake voice cloning. Someone from the office with too much time and not enough tact. But when I mentioned it at work, Dan paused mid-coffee pour and said, "You already told me this. You played it for us Friday." I blinked. No, I didn't. He stared, confused. "Yes, you did. You said you were trying to quit Ambien." "I haven't taken Ambien since college. I haven't taken anything in months, not even melatonin." Later that day, a calendar alert popped up on my work screen. Check-in confirmation. Red Lantern Motel, room 6A. Friday, 3 a.m. I clicked it. No location listed, no reservation number. Just a pin drop on a crumpled stretch of back road an hour north of the city. The coordinates from the voicemail. I canceled it, deleted it from my calendar, closed the tab, cleared my history. But my heart had that skipping hinge feeling, like when someone calls your name, but you know you're alone. That night my phone buzzed at 2:58 a.m. No ID, no ringtone, just the vibration. I picked it up, no voice, just breathing. My own. I said nothing. The line stayed open, then a whisper. "You're late." Click. I threw the phone, sat up until dawn, staring at the screen like it might restart itself and explain everything. At work, Dan asked how my drive went. I told him I never left. He just laughed. "Whatever, you looked dead when you came back." I went. I don't remember it, but I went. Thursday night, I drove the route from the pin drop, past 2 gas stations, a shuttered diner, and finally, what was left of it. The motel was gone, blackened timber, half a rusted ice machine. No signs, no roof, just a bone-picked rectangle of ruin in the woods. I shouldn't have gotten out, but I did. Because under the frame of what had been room 6A, something shiny caught my eye. Half buried, it was a phone, a burned one. The screen melted in waves, fused to a battery bloated like a drowned animal, wrapped in scorched cloth. I didn't touch it, just stared. Something inside me was whispering, "That's yours." I took a picture, my phone froze, then crashed. When it rebooted, the voicemail app opened on its own, same message, my voice, but longer. "Don't forget again. They're still there. You screamed. Do you remember now? You screamed. Then a scream. Mine. Cut off." I dropped it in the footwell and drove home on autopilot, palms damp, breath skipping every other second. Friday morning, I found 3 outgoing calls on my phone's log, all at 4:13 a.m., all to my number. I played one of the recordings. My voice. "This is Marla. If you hear this again, you failed." No memory of saying it. None. I called my mom, needing something familiar. The line rang. Picked up, but no one spoke, only rustling, faint muttering. Then her voice, soft, shaky. "Marla, is that you again? Please stop calling, sweetie. Please stop." She hung up. I didn't call back. At work, someone had left a yellow post-it on my desk. No writing, just a tiny burned hole in the center. Dan avoided me now, said I was doing it again. When I asked what that meant, he mumbled something about June. That weekend I didn't show up, the one I'd blamed on migraines. Except I remembered none of it. Not the weekend, not the motel, not the voicemail. But I remembered the screaming. I started researching burned-down motels, missing persons, anything. There was a podcast, Echo Trail, obscure, low-budget, one episode called The Last Message. A guy in Wisconsin said he got a voicemail from himself, same setup, coordinates, a time. He went. Motel was ash. He disappeared a week later. So did 3 others who commented on the thread. I emailed the host. She called me back. Said, "Don't say anything near your phone anymore." I asked why. She told me, "They only find you if you answer," and hung up. That night, I locked my phone in the microwave, sat in my tub with a landline, the cordless kind with the rubbery antenna. Still, when I dialed Dan's number, the ringtone bled into my ears. Wrong, lower, slower, like something underwater. He picked up, but it wasn't him. "Marla," the voice croaked. "You're already here." Click. Next morning, my phone was on my nightstand. It had recorded a voice memo while I slept. I hit play, rustling sheets, my breath, then a whisper. "If you hear this again, you failed." It ended with soft laughter. I stopped going to work. I stopped calling anyone. I unplugged my Alexa, turned off the Bluetooth on every device, but the whispers kept finding me, in the hum of the fridge, in the static between FM stations, in the echo when I flushed the toilet. Always the same phrase, but twisted, broken, rearranged. "You forgot again. You screamed. You're not done." Then, Sunday, something new. My reflection. I was brushing my foam trailing my chin. When I looked up, she wasn't brushing. She was watching, mouth closed, eyes wide. Then she whispered it, without sound. "This is Marla. Please don't answer if I call," and smiled. I ran, left the lights on, slept in the car. This morning I woke up to find my voicemail had changed. I didn't record it. I wouldn't have, but it played automatically when I checked. A hollow, rusted version of my voice. "This is Marla. If you hear this again, it's too late." I haven't spoken since. I tried, nothing came out. I call people, and they hear me. But the voice that speaks isn't mine. It says things I don't remember saying. It says, "You already came back." I think I'm not the only one in here anymore, and I think I'm still screaming somewhere inside that voicemail. The end. It started with a voicemail from my mother. Her voice was raw, scattered like she'd just been crying. "They said she didn't suffer, Colin. I don't know how to tell you this. Lana's gone." I dropped the phone. It didn't make sense. Lana had just sent me a birthday video 3 days ago, her face blurry from bad front camera focus, her voice teasing me for getting old and bald. She'd signed off with her usual wink, always that wink. At the wake, no one said her name. I waited by the photo table expecting her yearbook shots, our childhood beach photos, that one Polaroid where we were both wearing vampire teeth. Nothing. The table held only photos of me, my parents, and strangers. I cornered Aunt Jenna near the kitchen. "Did you see the photos? They forgot Lana." Her face twisted. "Lana who?" I laughed, thinking it was some cruel joke. "My sister." Jenna blinked. "Colin, you're an only child." I swear to God I felt the floor tilt beneath me. Back home, I pulled out my old box of cassette tapes. Lana and I used to record fake radio shows, complete with prank calls and horror stories. I found the tape labeled Halloween '95, shoved it into the dusty player, and pressed play. Static. Then my voice, 12 years old. "This is DJ Colin, and with me is..." Silence. Nothing followed. I rewound, tried again. Static. My voice, but hers, gone. I grabbed the yearbook from high school, flipped to the sophomore class photos. Her name should have been between Brinkley and Bryson. Instead, a blank spot. Not even a missing photo box. Just emptiness, like she'd been edited out before ink hit paper. At 2 a.m., I made a Reddit post. "Does anyone remember someone everyone else forgot?" I detailed Lana's laugh, her chipped front tooth, how she used to cut her cereal with scissors because she hated crunching sounds. I hit post, then waited. In the morning, there were 3 replies. The first, "My Uncle Dan, same thing. Everyone says I made him up." The second had attached sketches of a woman with different faces. "She's my cousin. Her face changes every time I draw her. I don't think it's my fault." The third reply just said, "It starts with faces, then time, then you." I didn't sleep the next night. Not just from fear, though that was thick in my chest, but because my journal had changed. I've kept the same black Moleskine since 2018. Notes, memories, lesson plans. But last night, 3 pages in the middle had new handwriting. Slanted, sloppy. "You forgot her first. You always do." Then below it, in my handwriting this time, she had green eyes, or brown, or were they gray? I threw it across the room. It hit the wall, slid down like a wounded thing. By Friday, I couldn't find my own handwriting in half the entries. I drove out to the crash site. According to Mom's voicemail, Lana had veered off Highway 6 near the old quarry. No skid marks, no sign of struggle, no Lana, except now someone had built a shrine. Candles, stuffed animals, a framed portrait in the center, her face. Or, it started that way. A split-second glimpse of Lana, age 13, smiling. But as I stared, her features softened, eyes widened, nose narrowed. It flickered like a bad video signal. Then it wasn't her at all. A man's face replaced it. Mine. I stumbled back, heart drumming in my throat. And that's when I saw the car parked down the road. Just sitting there. Tinted windows, engine off. I squinted. The figure inside looked back. He wore my face. Not a look-alike. Not a twin. Me. I drove home without stopping. Didn't remember the turns, didn't remember starting the engine. But I arrived with new dirt on my shoes and something cold in my pocket. A small envelope. No stamp. Just my name. Inside, a folded note and a mirror shard the size of a thumb. The note said, "One of you has to forget. One already did." I stared into the shard. My reflection warped, my mouth too wide, my eyes unfocused. That night, I dreamed I was 7 again. Lana and I were building a Lego tower. She was humming something. I don't know what. When I asked what song it was, she said, "I don't know yet." You haven't heard it. I woke up sweating, checked my phone. The lock screen photo was wrong. It had been Lana and me last Christmas. Now it was just me. My arm was still outstretched, like I had it wrapped around someone. The space beside me was blank. I scrolled through my contacts. Lana wasn't there. Not under favorites. Not in recents. I searched old texts. Nothing. I opened Facebook. Typed Lana Bryce into the search bar. No results. I found an old post from 2014. Happy birthday to the best sister in the world. All comments said the same thing. You mean your mom? Who's this? Is this a joke? I didn't go to work Monday. Just sat in my kitchen, light off, mirror shard on the table. Every time I glanced at it, the face staring back seemed unsure. Not frightened, just unfinished. At 9:13 p.m. someone knocked. I opened the door to a man my height wearing my jacket. He held another envelope. He didn't speak. Just nodded, pressed it into my hand, and walked away. I didn't follow. I already knew where he was going. Back to the crash site. The envelope had one thing. A Polaroid. Me and Lana. I know it was real. I know it was real because I remember the moment. Her elbow was in my ribs. We were both laughing. The shutter clicked right as she whispered, "Don't forget me, okay?" But her face in the photo was smudged, like someone had rubbed their thumb over the ink while it was still wet. Not blurred. Gone. I flipped the photo over, written in her handwriting, "Still here." I tried calling Mom. She didn't answer. Drove to her house, lights off, front door open. Inside, everything was quiet. All the family photos still hung on the stairwell wall. Every single one, Lana's spot had been filled in. Sometimes with me, sometimes no one at all. In one, I was standing next to a tall girl with her face scratched out, like someone had taken a key to it. I sat in the living room, gripping the photo, and for the first time I let myself ask, what if she never existed? But then I remembered the sound she made when she sneezed, like a puppy yelp. The way she used to draw question marks backwards. The tiny scar on her wrist from the glue gun in 8th grade art. You can't fabricate that. You can't hallucinate an entire person's sneeze, unless someone wanted you to. Tuesday morning, I woke to find the mirror shard gone. In its place, a new note written in my slanted handwriting. I remember you now. Below it, a list of names. Dan, Mira, Kelsey, me. Then at the bottom, her. No name, just that word. Her. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror staring, watching for flickers. Nothing changed, not yet, but something had shifted. I turned away, flipped the light off, and behind me in the mirror, another face lingered a moment too long before fading. The end. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed it. Just a flicker, a hiccup in time. My reflection turned its head half a second too late. Then it smiled. I didn't. I dropped the brush into the sink and froze, foam sliding down my chin, the mirror humming faintly, almost like it breathed. I told myself it was the meds. Again, Dr. Rubin said side effects could include temporal disassociation, whatever that meant. But I knew what I saw. The smile was wrong. Not just off, it wanted something. The mirror's frame looked slightly bent the next morning. The top corner curled inward like it was peeling back, exposing something too smooth behind it. I ran my fingers over the glass, but it felt normal, cold, solid. I didn't tell anyone. I needed to get back to sculpting. Routine, clay, shapes, tactile anchors Dr. Rubin called them. Still, I started covering the bathroom mirror with a towel, but the one in the hallway kept catching me. Just glimpses. Walking by, bending to tie a shoe, my reflection would be half a second ahead, always doing it first. I started testing it, subtly. I'd blink rapidly. It blinked first. I scratched my neck. It scratched slightly before I moved. A full second too early one time. I laughed too hard when that happened. The sound cracked halfway through. My throat felt raw afterward. Derek, my boyfriend, noticed something was off. "You haven't been sleeping, have you?" "I am. I think." But I wasn't. I'd been dreaming of water. Black water, the kind that doesn't reflect anything. He said I was worrying myself sick. To prove it, he set up his phone and recorded us brushing our teeth together. On playback, I wasn't in the frame, just him, and my reflection, alone in the mirror. It brushed its teeth in perfect rhythm with Derek like nothing was wrong, except it was smiling, wide. He stopped the video. "Maybe it glitched," he said quietly. "Angle's weird." The next day, I caught him packing an overnight bag, said he needed space. said I felt distant. Distant how? I asked. Like you're not really here. He left before I could answer. My reflection waved at me when the door closed. I started seeing it everywhere. Metal sink taps, laptop screens, even the glass in picture frames. All of them slightly delayed, then slowly, not delayed at all. Then ahead, always ahead. Predicting me, or puppeting me. I couldn't tell anymore. I stopped leaving the apartment. Every mirror now showed that same warping at the edges, like the frame was slowly curling inward, like it was hungry. Light bent around the glass wrong. It made shadows I couldn't find the source of. I called my friend Layla. "You okay?" she asked. "You sound hollow." "Come over, please." She hesitated. "Jas, you've been weird lately. I saw you last week, remember? You barely said anything." "I didn't see you last week." There was a long pause. Then she hung up. I turned to the living room mirror. My reflection was already staring at me. No lag, no emotion. I whispered, "What do you want?" It mouthed something I couldn't hear. I leaned closer. My breath fogged the glass. It mouthed again, "Switch now." I staggered back, slamming into the coffee table. A small cut opened on my calf. Blood. In the mirror she hadn't moved, but her calf was already bleeding, same place, same size. She smiled, dragged her finger across the wound, and licked it clean. I covered every surface in the apartment, duct tape, towels, blankets, anything. But then I caught my own face in a spoon. She was still there. That night, I smashed the bathroom mirror. The sound was wrong, too deep, like I'd broken something more than glass. But it didn't help. The shards didn't scatter right. Each one showed a complete image of me, all at different angles, all smiling. Blood ran up the cracks, not down. The next morning, the mirror above the stove, one I'd never noticed, had the same warped edges, same grinning version of me. I left. There was only one place I could think to go. My mother's house. She died last winter, heart attack. I hadn't been back since the funeral. But I remembered something from childhood, how she always kept every mirror covered, even small ones, said it was for safety. I drove 6 hours without stopping. The highway blurred by. I avoided looking into the rear view. The car's windows showed just enough shine to reflect. At one point, I swear I saw her in the passenger seat, head tilted, mouthing something. The house felt smaller than I remembered. Dust covered everything. The mirrors were still shrouded in thick cloth. It felt safe for a while. In the attic, I found one of her old journals. The leather was cracked, smelled like mildew and cedar. Inside, pages and pages of tightly written entries, all about reflections, all about twins. She'd had one, a sister still born. But she wrote that it wasn't a clean birth, that something had been left behind, that her mother taught her to cover mirrors to keep it in. A single sentence was underlined over and over. One twin must remain behind the glass. I don't have a twin, or I didn't. There was one last entry. Never let your reflection reach the door first. I dropped the journal. My hands were shaking. My head started to ache, sharp and rhythmic, like something tapping against the inside of my skull. Downstairs, I heard a door creak. The mirror in the living room had no cloth over it. She was standing there, not mimicking, just watching. I didn't move, neither did she. Then slowly she reached for the side of the mirror. Her hand pressed against it. The glass began to ripple, like water, like the surface of a lake disturbed by breath. I screamed, ran to the basement, locked the door. She didn't follow. I sat there for hours, rocking, trying not to blink. I thought of the old stories my grandmother told about face stealers and skin shadows, about how you could trick them by never breaking rhythm, never letting them move first. I fell asleep against the washing machine. When I woke up, it was dark. The basement window reflected a pale slice of my face. It was smiling. I didn't move. I didn't blink. "Switch now," it whispered, though the lips didn't move. My mouth tasted like salt. I backed away, hands trembling. Outside, I heard something tap the door. Not knock, tap, like fingernails, delicate, confident. I climbed the stairs. Slowly. The house was silent. The mirror in the hallway was uncovered now. She was already halfway down the staircase in it. I stopped. My chest heaved. The final journal line repeated in my head, over and over, "Never let your reflection reach the door first." I turned, ran to the front. The door was ajar, and I saw it. In the mirror by the coat rack. She was already standing outside, waving. I screamed and slammed the door, but it was too late. I could feel it. Like something had split in the center of me. Like a part of me was now outside. Every reflective surface in the house, fridge handle, glass picture frame, TV screen, now showed only her, not me. I smashed them all, one by one. Didn't help. She's in all of them now. Wearing my clothes, mimicking my smile. The only difference is her eyes. They don't blink, and she's always just a little bit faster. The end. I was only supposed to get my blood sugar under control. That's what the pamphlet said. Free trial, experimental glucose regulators, no cost, no insurance required. They handed it to me outside the Save Mart pharmacy, 2 blocks from my apartment. The woman who gave it to me smiled like she already knew I'd say yes. I remember filling out the clipboard in the waiting room. I remember the needle going into my arm. I remember the way the fluorescent lights flickered like they were breathing. Then nothing. When I woke up, I couldn't move my legs. The room was silent, cold, white, no seams in the walls, no door, just a smooth, sterile box and a flat metal slab where I lay. There was a screen above me. It blinked once, then numbers began to crawl across it, symbols I didn't recognize, heart rate, body temperature, something labeled decay index. A speaker clicked on. "Welcome to Cycle 0, said a voice that wasn't human. Not robotic either, just wrong. Like someone was mimicking speech from a throat that didn't have the right parts. I tried to shout. Nothing came out. Seconds passed, maybe minutes. The screen blinked again. New data. Then a face appeared. No, not a face. Perfectly smooth. No eyes, just 2 black holes where they should have been. You are subject 15A replacement, it said. Do not resist. Assessment in progress. I could feel my body. I could move my arms, but my legs stayed limp. I dragged myself off the slab. The floor was warm, padded. I slapped the wall, felt no give, no air vents, no shadows. I shouted again, hoarse now, demanding to know where I was. No reply. Only the monitor changed. Cycle 1 initiated. I screamed until my throat tore. By what I think was the 3rd day, I found the corner where the wall met the floor was softer than the others. I clawed into it with my nails, trying to carve a mark. Just one, a name, a date, something. It hurt. My fingers bled. I scratched anyway. When I woke the next time, it was gone. Clean, pristine, no blood, no carving, like nothing ever happened. The next cycle, a new sound started, low breathing. Not mine, someone else's. Through the wall, I pressed my ear to it. A voice whispered just once, "You're not the original." I jolted back, hit the floor. I waited hours, maybe longer, but the voice didn't return. That night, if you could call it night, my wall flickered. A seam opened. I crawled through. There were other chambers, dozens. A honeycomb tunnel, hexagonal walls pulsing softly with light. Inside each, someone else. All in identical white rooms, lying on slabs like mine. Some asleep, some thrashing, some whispering to nothing. One of them looked just like me, older, fatter. Same scar on the left hand from a roofing job 20 years ago. He was crying. I reached toward the wall. My hand went through. The room wasn't real. None of them were. Just projected slices, like we were being shown to each other on purpose. Then I saw another version, this one younger, skinnier, mumbling in Spanish, shaking, holding his wrist. His lips moved fast. They said I volunteered. I don't remember signing anything. Then one who looked nothing like me, a girl, maybe 16. Same patient gown, same blank room. But when she turned toward me, her eyes were black, fully. No whites. The voice returned. Subject 15A replacement, exit unauthorized, resetting chamber. I screamed no, but the walls closed around me. Darkness. Silence. Then, back. Same slab, same screen, same data. No proof I'd moved at all. But I remembered that's when I started carving again. Not just words this time, scratches in my arm, deep enough to scar. 1 mark for every cycle. I counted 27 before I gave up. That's when I saw him, a man in one of the chambers, middle-aged. Same face as mine, but the eyes were different. Confident. He wore a lab coat. He stood behind a desk, reviewing something on a tablet. A screen behind him showed my room. Me. He didn't look at the camera, but I knew it was me. He touched the screen, paused, and said something I couldn't hear. Then, under his breath, loop retention failure. Another regression. He didn't sound surprised. I backed away. My legs were working again by then, kind of. I stumbled to the far corner and slammed my fists against the wall. "What am I?" I shouted. "What the hell am I?" Silence. Then, control regained. Regression will be addressed. I was sedated. Again. No needle. just pressure in the air like the oxygen got sucked out of the room. My vision folded in on itself. Next time I woke, the wall had a crack in it and a whisper. "You're not real, you're mine." It was the girl, the one with black eyes. Her voice filled the room even though she wasn't in it. She was inside me. Her voice scratched behind my thoughts, repeating, hissing, "You're my test." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted metal. It didn't stop. The next cycle, a man appeared, physically. Inside my room, wearing the white mask, white gloves, white shoes. He moved like a puppet, arms too stiff. He handed me a paper form, one line of text. "Would you like to opt out of consciousness during final assessment?" YN, I circled N. He stood motionless for 3 seconds, then nodded once and vanished, literally, like blinking out. Then the pain started. My skin tingled, peeled. My eyes burned from the inside. The monitor displayed things I didn't understand, fractal numbers, phrases like cognitive shell failure, and identity echo detected. The screen showed me again, talking. But my mouth wasn't moving. I was speaking to someone. Calm, authoritative, saying, "He doesn't know yet. Let's increase the stress ratio." I covered my ears. It didn't stop. The cycles became harder to track. Sometimes I woke with new memories, childhood things I'd forgotten. Other times I couldn't remember my name. I stopped trusting my voice. I stopped speaking entirely. Then came the tape. It played without warning. On the screen, me, older, same coat, same lab, talking directly to camera. "If you're watching this, subject 15A replacement, the loop has fractured. You've become aware. That was never the intent." His eyes softened. "You're not real. You're a fragment, a cognitive backup created to stress test a behavioral loop under extreme conditions." I shook my head, over and over. "Original Tomas remains unaware of your existence. You are a neural subroutine, experiencing programmed trauma loops to assess memory durability in high-failure environments. You were never meant to reach this stage." He looked down. "I'm sorry." The screen blinked off. I clawed my skin raw. That night, I think it was night, another patient screamed, not from pain, from fury. "You're not real, you're mine," they bellowed. "I made you, I made you." A door opened in their chamber. 4 masked staff entered. They dragged him out. I never saw him again. Then my screen went black. New message, final cycle, cognitive drain in progress. My arms trembled. My hands looked unfamiliar, too smooth, too unscarred. The cuts I made, gone. I couldn't remember if I ever had diabetes. Then I heard my own voice, right beside me. "We're done here." I turned. Nothing, then static, then silence. I closed my eyes and waited. The end. I was already uncomfortable when I stepped into the gym. The lights were too bright, the music too clean, like it had been scrubbed sterile. Balloons clung to the ceiling like they were afraid to drop. The banner above the bleachers read, "Welcome back, class of 2005. I kept my head down, gripping the reunion badge in my pocket. It read, "Ken Barker," printed in a font that felt unfamiliar. I don't do reunions. I didn't do high school, not really. I coasted. Quiet, forgettable. No trophies, no prom, no scandals. I came tonight because I thought maybe I'd change that narrative. Show up. Be seen. But they saw someone else. Ken Barker. A tall guy in a navy suit barreled toward me. I remembered his face. Maybe Brandon? But the years had turned him into a glossy version of himself. "Jesus, man, you look exactly the same. Captain of the football team and still built like a tank." I laughed, thin and confused. That wasn't me. I never played. He slapped my back like I'd told a joke. "Still modest, huh? You had a hell of a spiral, best quarterback in state history." He moved on before I could correct him. My hands were clammy. I hadn't thrown a football in my life. Across the room, someone called out, "Mr. President!" A cheer rose up from a group near the punch table. People started clapping for me. I took a step back. My stomach turned. A woman approached, thick glasses, gray streaks in her hair. "Ken, you haven't aged a day. Do you remember prom night? God, we were so drunk after you won king. I still have that crown." "Prom?" She laughed. "You asked me to marry you that night, remember?" I said no, obviously. "But you were a total romantic." "I know. I didn't go to prom. I didn't ask anyone." Her face clouded, not confusion, disappointment. "Don't do that," she said quietly. "Don't pretend it didn't mean anything." She walked away before I could say more. I backed into a corner. The music throbbed. My name echoed from the mic as someone announced me as the man of the hour. Every face I looked into smiled with recognition. Too much recognition. I made my way to the memorabilia table, hoping for something solid. Yearbooks, old programs, framed photos from senior year. I flipped open the yearbook to my graduating class. There I was, but not me. My name was printed under a photo of someone with my face, only broader, confident, wearing a varsity jacket. Another photo on the opposite page showed me kissing a girl under a homecoming banner. I remember spending homecoming alone watching late-night TV. I checked the caption, Ken Barker and Shelley Klein, prom royalty. The letters burned, my fingers trembled. I opened another program, a commencement booklet. Valedictorian Ken Barker. My grades were average, barely scraped by in geometry. I turned to the wall of senior photos. One by one, I matched faces to names. They looked mostly right, until I spotted the photo of Mike Ellison, the actual quarterback. Except now, his caption read, Yearbook Photographer. He'd been huge, loud, always surrounded by people. But in the photo, he was pale, holding a camera like it frightened him. What the hell is this? Mr. Barker. I turned. An old man approached, Principal Hammond. Thinner now, but unmistakable. He shook my hand. I wasn't sure you'd show, after the incident. What incident? He tilted his head. Ken, the cheating scandal, the expulsion. Surely you remember. We almost didn't let you walk at graduation. I laughed too sharply. You expelled me? I've never been in trouble in my life. He blinked slowly. Still deflecting, I see. He walked away, and I felt the gym shift slightly under my feet. I had to get out. I stumbled outside to my car, heart hammering. I pulled out my wallet, desperate for something real. I unfolded a photo from graduation. Me, in a plain black robe, standing alone. The background was my parents' driveway. But now, the robe looked different. It had gold trim, a sash I didn't own. My face in the photo grinned too widely, like it was proud of something I didn't earn. I tossed it to the floor and opened the glove box. Certificates, letters, bank documents. I checked each one, everywhere, new titles. President of the business club, most likely to succeed, state debate champion. I began to shake. Then something moved past the window. A figure. I leaned forward. He walked slowly along the building's edge, hands in his pockets, eyes low. Same height, same build, same hairline, but slouched, awkward, like I used to be. Like I really was. I opened the door. Hey! He didn't look up. I followed him back inside, calling his name. No one else saw him. People passed right through, brushing his arm without notice, his shoulders curled tighter. I lost him by the bleachers. My pulse scraped against my ribs. Back in the gym, the lights dimmed. A voice came over the speakers. And now, a special tribute. A video started on the projector screen. Laughter died down. Music played. A slideshow. Photos of me, or at least the other version. Throwing footballs, holding trophies, kissing cheerleaders, speaking at a podium, hugging a girl I'd never touched. My voice narrated, confident and warm. I couldn't breathe. Then the screen faded. In memoriam, Kenneth James Barker, 1987 to 2005. Silence. Everyone bowed their heads. I stood there, frozen. Then someone touched my shoulder. A white envelope. No name, no return address. Inside a single line, you were overwritten. I turned. No one was there. The music started again, too cheerful. The same applause as earlier, looping, stuttering slightly. A glitch. I walked to the door, tried the handle. It opened to a hallway. I walked fast, then ran. Every hallway bent back toward the gym. I tried the exit to the parking lot, back in the bleachers. I sprinted down a flight of stairs, emerged behind the punch table, looped. I screamed. No one reacted. Then I saw him again, my shadow self. Near the stage now, hands trembling. Holding something. He looked at me, and he walked forward. He didn't speak, just handed me a folded paper. His eyes, my eyes, were red. It was the reunion program. I flipped to the back, a list of names under in memoriam. My name was there, centered, bolded. I looked up. He was gone. The applause continued, on repeat. Too perfect, too hollow. Then the projector clicked again. Another video started, same voice, same music. But now it was everything. A full life. Marriage, kids, vacations. Speeches, retirement, all starring me, none of it real. Or maybe not anymore. I backed away, sat in the nearest chair. I held the envelope. My fingers went numb. I whispered just once, which version came first? No answer. Only applause. The end. I wasn't even supposed to be on that contract. Galen Tech had a backlog of legacy footage to audit, terabytes of old surveillance data from when they handled municipal infrastructure. Most of it was dusty overhead feeds of turnstiles and maintenance corridors. They'd spun down their transit division a decade ago, but for compliance, someone had to watch it. That someone became me. At first, it was exactly what I expected. Empty platforms, the odd scurrying rat. A few teenagers skateboarding where they shouldn't. I half-watched while I sipped coffee, logging timestamps and tagging anything out of the ordinary. I started with the L9 tunnel, unused since 2015. No service, no lights, just echo. But the feed from April 6th caught my attention. The timestamp blinked. A small crowd shuffled through frame. Business casual, briefcases, phones, too many for that hour. They moved calmly, one by one, toward the end of the platform, where the old green tile wall stood. Then they disappeared, not off-screen, into the wall, like a ripple. Each body dissolved in one frame and was gone by the next. No panic, no break in stride, just gone. I rewound it 3 times, thought maybe it was a compression glitch or frame drop, but it happened every time. Same timestamp, same faces, 12 of them. I froze the frame and started cross-referencing against the city's missing persons archive. It took the better part of an hour, but one by one, the names popped up. All gone missing between April 4th and April 9th, 2015. No links, no bodies, no follow-up. I flagged the file for review, submitted it to the incident queue, and tried to forget about it. The next morning I logged in. Access denied. Not just to the April 6th file, to all L9 footage. Even my case note was gone. Wiped clean, like it never existed. I pulled up the local cache on my workstation. Thank God I'd copied the files out of habit. It was just for speed, not suspicion. But when I opened it again, something was different. In the exact same loop, one of the men in the crowd, gray coat, horn-rimmed glasses, turned his head, looked straight into the camera. Just before vanishing, he lifted his arm and waved. I slammed my laptop shut. I didn't sleep that night. My apartment buzzed with phantom noise, air vents that hadn't kicked on, fridge hummed too loud. I kept seeing that wave, that look. It wasn't friendly. The next day I tried to talk to my supervisor, Jensen. He brushed me off. Old archive glitches, corrupted file. Stop obsessing, Lynn. I asked if he'd pulled the footage. He said nothing. I watched again that night. Same timestamp. This time, 3 of them turned. Not just the man in the gray coat. 3 heads pivoted in eerie sync like choreography, and every one of them stared. One of the women opened her mouth. I couldn't hear sound, but her lips moved, slowly. Don't. I zoomed in, rewound, played it back. Don't. I paused it and sat there, palms clammy. The silence in my apartment stretched so wide I felt like I might fall into it. I closed the file, shut everything down. But the next day I went to the station. There were no barricades, no signs. Just rusted fencing and a half-open maintenance gate behind a graffiti-tagged service entrance off Delancey. It took 30 seconds to get in. The station smelled like mold and iron. Everything underfoot echoed. My phone buzzed. Camera activated. I froze. I hadn't touched it. I checked the screen. My remote viewer app had launched itself. Live feed, L9 platform. The screen showed me walking into the station, alone. Then from the right side of frame, another me entered. Same clothes, same steps. But this version stopped at the far end, turned to face the tiled wall, and stood still. No motion, no sound. Then she vanished. I dropped my phone. When I picked it up, the app had crashed. I got the hell out. At home, I triple locked the door. I shut every screen off, unplugged the router, and curled up in bed with the lights on. I don't remember falling asleep. At 2:41 a.m., the lights flickered. Then everything went dark. All the monitors in my apartment blinked back on, one by one. They all showed the same thing. My face. Not the live feed. Not a mirror. My face, but wrong. The mouth moved, but not with my words. The eyes blinked out of sync. 12 monitors, 12 of me. Then one spoke. "Welcome back to monitoring, Lynn." I stepped back. My legs hit the coffee table. The voices echoed from every screen, layered in a delayed chorus. "Your shift is permanent." I ran to the fuse box. Everything was in the off position, dead, but the screen stayed on. My face stared back, expressionless. Then all the monitors blinked. Looped footage began to play, the platform, the commuters, the wall. But this time, something new. In the upper left corner, tiny, almost missed, a camera feed marked home. The footage showed me watching the footage. Then I blinked, and the version of me on screen didn't. She smiled. I shut off the power, ripped every cord, yanked the battery from my laptop, but it didn't matter. My reflection followed me screen to screen, blinking just slightly off, always one breath ahead. I haven't slept in 3 days. Every hour, the feed refreshes. The loop restarts, and something changes. More faces, more eyes looking up. Yesterday, I saw my mother standing on that platform, then my brother. Today, there were 12 versions of me. They walked calmly into the wall. One turned, mid-step, and mouthed, "Get out." I don't know which version of me said it, or if it matters. I tried to leave the city, but my badge won't scan at the terminal. My bank account's locked. Even my reflection in the subway window stared too long after I looked away. And last night, something worse. I heard the chime, not from my devices, from under the floorboards. That soft, artificial chime Galentech uses when a new feed activates. I crawled out of bed, heart pounding, and pressed my ear to the ground. Click, click, whir. Soft footsteps. They're building another room beneath me. I don't know how, but I hear the fan spinning. I hear the hum of the server rack. I think they're installing a terminal. For me. They don't need the station anymore. The monitoring room is here. I haven't opened my laptop again. Doesn't matter. Every time I blink, I see the platform. Every reflection's delayed. Every shadow walks a little further than I do, and the loop still plays. They go into the wall, and this time I think I'm next. The end. They told me it was just a routine site check. Zoning review, parcel 17B, formerly municipal housing. Long abandoned, flagged for redevelopment. Condemned towers, feral cats, syringes in stairwells. I signed the papers like I always do, half tired, half distracted, chewing on an antacid with one hand, holding my daughter's lunchbox in the other. I didn't know what was underneath yet. The backhoe struck something the first afternoon. The sound was wrong, not concrete, something lighter, hollow. They paused work, called in an archaeologist, protocol stuff. I stood at the edge of the excavation pit, watching men lean in with gloved hands, brushing carefully. Then I saw it. Tiny, curved bones, child-sized, and behind them a row of rusted school desks bolted in formation, metal legs twisted like they'd been melted into the earth. There were at least 24 facing the same direction, all half buried. No one spoke. One of the workers made the sign of the cross. 3 hours later, the city put up the first blackout notice, unexploded ordnance risk. Lie number 1. I knew it wasn't ordnance, and I knew it wasn't over. That night, someone slid a piece of lined notebook paper under my door. Smudged graphite, child's handwriting. Today, Miss Locke made Mia sit in the quiet desk. She cried. We're not allowed to leave until the bell rings. But the bell never rings. No signature. I read it again and again. The next day I asked around casually about old blueprints. No record of any school on that lot. No public, no private, not even a daycare. Just blank space. A block swallowed by decades of slum clearance and urban renewal. But when I got home, my daughter Ava was drawing at the kitchen table. Look, Mommy, I made a map, she smiled. Wide. Too wide. It was a floor plan, square, labeled, rows of desks, a chalkboard, a tiny room marked closet. Another paper slid beneath the front door that night. No sound, just paper scraping tile. Miss Locke locked Max inside the closet. He screamed. But he broke the quiet rule. We watched the handle move for a long time. Then it didn't move anymore. The closet's part of the class now. I stopped sleeping. My boss called twice that week, warning me to drop it. Said the city wanted the redevelopment to go smooth. No drama, no bones, no media, just raise and rebuild. I lied and said I understood, but I didn't. By then, Ava had drawn more floor plans. New names appeared above desks. Most were faint, misspelled, crammed into the edges. But one name was clear. Layla, my name. I asked Ava who told her. She looked up like it was the dumbest question in the world. You were in the class too, Mommy. You sat near the window. You always looked outside. I dropped the drawing. My hand wouldn't stop shaking. The next day, I went to city archives. The file clerk was maybe 60, thick glasses, slow breath. She squinted at the parcel number. Her finger traced the boundary. Freeman, you said your name was Layla Freeman? I nodded. She hesitated, leaned in closer to the terminal, then printed something. When she handed it to me, she didn't meet my eyes. Enrollment record, a microfiche scan, smudged, faded. District 12 Experimental Learning Program, Class 4B, enrolled, Layla Freeman, age 5. But there was no District 12. Never had been. And I didn't go to school in this city. I grew up in Iowa, didn't I? I drove home too fast, barely remembering the turns. My chest was tight, head buzzing. That night, Ava didn't speak. She sat in her room, door open, whispering numbers as she traced lines on the wall with her finger. 24, 25, 26. I stood outside her door. When I called her name, she didn't blink. I checked the front door again. Locked, bolted, but paper slid under anyway. Miss Locke says if we remember, we disappear. I don't want to remember anymore, but they keep digging. The next evening, the contractor texted me. They found something else beneath the desks, a deeper layer. Larger bolts, more anchors. The ground had shifted. Foundations cracked. I told them I'd come after hours. I don't know why I lied to Ava. Maybe to protect her. Maybe to protect myself. I told her I'd be home before dark. But when I parked at the site, dusk had already swallowed the sky. The gate was unlocked. No workers. No noise. Just the pit. I walked to the edge. The excavation had deepened. Perfect rows, cleaner now. Each desk still bolted, precisely 1 meter apart. The surrounding dirt formed crude steps downward, sloped like an amphitheater. In the far wall, a dark square, empty space, a closet, and beside it, propped against cracked concrete, a chalkboard. No frame, no stand, just leaning. Names were written in chalk, dozens, some I recognized, some I didn't. Max, Mia, Ava, Layla. I stared at it too long. Then the chalk moved. It slid itself down the board, faint squeak on slate. Slowly, methodically, one name vanished, then another. The air grew colder. I could hear my own breath now, sharp, fast, uneven. And then I heard the bell. A high, brittle clang, not mechanical, bone-dry, final. My ears rang. I turned to run, but the stairs had changed. Risers vanished, slope hardened, edges too steep to climb. I lost my footing and fell hard against the dirt. My elbow struck metal. A desk, another one. Rows behind me, stretching outward, dozens, all empty, waiting. The bell rang again. I was already crying. I didn't realize it until my teeth tasted salt. I crawled to the chalkboard, but my name was already gone. I touched the wall beside it, smooth. Not concrete, not brick, painted drywall, pale green, just like every classroom wall I ever sat beside, hands folded, waiting for recess. But I never had recess here, did I? Something scraped behind me. Metal chair legs dragging slowly backward. I didn't turn around. A whisper rode the air. Just breath, no voice. Now that you remember, class can begin. I ran. I ran the only way I could, forward, into the closet. It was pitch black, but it smelled like dust and old erasers and children's fear. I pressed my back to the door, expecting it to slam shut, but it didn't. I waited and waited. Then I heard sirens. Far away, closer. Someone had called for help, maybe Ava, maybe someone else. I opened the door again, heart hammering. I stepped out, but there was no pit, just gravel, machines. The desks were gone. No chalkboard, only night, and the faintest bell echoing in the wind. The next morning, my inbox was wiped. The parcel log deleted, site reassigned. The file clerk at the archive, gone. Never worked here. I asked Ava if she remembered the drawings. She didn't, but sometimes I catch her counting under her breath. 24, 25, 26. Last week, she whispered something in her sleep. I leaned close to hear. She said, "Miss Locke says it's my turn next." The end. It said my name before I even opened the door. Malik? I froze halfway into the back seat, one knee still on the curb, my hand gripping the chipped paint of the door frame. The voice came from the front seat, flat, male, like someone doing a bad impression of friendliness. No question in the tone, just recognition. I hadn't typed it in. I use a nickname on the app, always have. Yeah, I muttered, sliding in. The door thunked shut behind me with a weird metallic suction, like a fridge ceiling, no sound of a lock, but when I glanced left, no handle, just smooth plastic where it should have been. My first thought was, old car. Then I noticed there was no rearview mirror. The driver said nothing else. No, how's your night been? Or traffic's light. Just that one word, my name. I leaned forward a bit, just enough to peek at his face, shadows. He was wearing one of those baseball caps pulled low, jaw stiff, skin pale, and stretched oddly smooth. You need the address?" I asked. My voice cracked. He didn't turn. "Navigation confirmed. Estimated arrival 14 minutes. The GPS screen on his dash didn't match the app. I watched the map, a tiny blue dot floating down a gray street, but the street names were all wrong. One just said Loop 3. Another was Main Alternate. My phone had bars earlier. Now, no signal. I checked again, swiped out, restarted, nothing. I settled back, jaw tight, thumb hovering near the emergency call button. The seat fabric was damp, like someone had spilled soda and let it soak for days. I shifted left. No seatbelt latch. I didn't ask questions, didn't shout or demand he stop. I just leaned my head back and closed my eyes like I was tired. Pretended to doze. I counted streetlights. Time. Turns. Tried to keep track. 15 minutes. 22. 37. Still no right turn onto Claremont. No Shell station. No corner with the busted crosswalk sign. The buildings blurred past again. Gray storage units, an empty lot, the red shipping container with graffiti. Fracture. You already did. I'd seen that twice. I opened one eye, watched the road signs. They looped. Same order again. Same twitch in the driver's neck when we passed the blinking construction cone. The GPS never updated. Still said arrival in 14 minutes. I whispered, "Where are we going?" He didn't answer. I tapped the back of his seat. "Hey, you missed the turn. That was Claremont." Silence. I shifted to the far side, peered out the window. Even the air looked wrong, flat, like the outside wasn't moving anymore. The sound was fake too. Engine hum looped on a rhythm I could predict. 3 hums, a click. 3 hums, a click. It was 48 minutes before I tried the door. I waited for a stop sign, reached for the handle I knew wouldn't be there. Felt nothing. The plastic was seamless. I tried the window switch. Dead. I cleared my throat. "I need to get out here, seriously." He finally spoke again. "For your safety, please remain seated until your destination is reached." Same exact voice, no inflection, like pressing repeat. I kicked the door, shouted, punched the seat. The child lock clicked louder. I felt it, like a physical finality. The moment I knew, I wasn't a passenger anymore. I was cargo. He pulled off onto a dark road, no lights. Nothing but dry weeds and a broken fence running alongside. The car rolled slow, like it was stalling for time. Then we stopped, not with a jolt, not a screech, just a soft halt like the engine gave up. I looked up. It was my house, but not. Same sagging roof, same little crooked porch light. The door had the dent I'd made 2 summers ago, slamming it too hard, but the mailbox was wrong, no numbers, just blank metal. I opened my mouth to speak, but the door beside me clicked open by itself. Something pushed me forward, a gentle pressure I couldn't explain. I stepped out. Not because I wanted to, because I was already halfway up the path. The porch light flickered. I raised a hand to knock, but the door opened before I touched it. "Baby, you're late," she said. My mom's voice. Her robe, her slippers, but her mouth smiled while her eyes didn't move, didn't blink. I swallowed. What's going on?" She stepped aside, letting me in. Same kitchen table, same smell of burnt rice and Lysol. She turned. Her mouth moved before the word started, like a delay. "How was work, sweetheart? You want your plate now or later?" The exact words she always said when I came home late. Only this time her voice echoed slightly, like it had been recorded. The corner of her lip twitched, only one side. Over and over. I backed toward the door. "You're not." She tilted her head. "You should sit. You must be tired." Her hand rose, robotic slow, palm open. I bolted. Down the steps, across the yard. Didn't care that my knees hit dirt. Behind me, her feet shuffled fast, but her arms didn't move. They stayed stiff at her sides as she followed. I ran like my legs were on fire. Cut back toward the road, found the car still idling, somehow closer than before. I yanked the back door. It opened this time. I dove in, slammed it shut. Only when I sat up did I see there was someone already in the seat next to me. It was me. Same hoodie, same scar on the left knuckle. His mouth turned into a grin, but his teeth didn't line up right. The screen on the dash flashed. Passenger confirmed. Fare complete. Integration begins. I screamed, reached for the door again. Gone. No seam. No escape. The other me leaned closer. "I always wondered what it'd be like," he said, voice soft. "Not just to copy, but to be." His fingers were wrong. Too long. They touched my wrist, cold and dry like wire wrapped in skin. I looked at the driver. He hadn't moved. Head still, neck stiff, just the cap. Just silence. The other me looked out the window. "We go again," he whispered. The car pulled away. The street names were gone now, only numbers. The air smelled like metal and melted plastic. I tried not to blink, but I could feel it already. My voice in his throat, my breath in sync with his. Somewhere ahead I knew there was another house and another mom and another me just waiting to let me in. The end. It started with the vent in the upstairs hallway. We'd only been living there 5 days. The realtor had called it a smart home with top-tier security. I hadn't thought twice when Jenna joked about feeling watched. New house, new routines, it made sense. But that morning, while I was folding towels, I noticed the vent cover was slightly crooked. Not loose, just off. Like someone had taken it off and tried to put it back exactly the way it was, but didn't quite get it right. I reached up. My fingers brushed the edge of the grate. Dust flaked off like it hadn't been touched in years. But behind it there was a tiny blinking red light. Not fast, just one slow pulse every few seconds. I didn't tell Jenna, not yet. I wanted to check the other rooms first. Our bedroom, the guest bath, even the garage. I didn't find any other lights, but the living room picture frames were off by just a hair. Not crooked, shifted, like they'd been taken down, then rehung. Again, almost perfect. Almost. That night, I barely slept. Not because of the lights, or the vents, or the picture frames. It was the attic. Around 3 a.m., I heard a faint mechanical whirring sound from the ceiling above our bed. It wasn't loud, just enough to register. Jenna stirred beside me, muttering something I couldn't catch. I whispered her name. She didn't answer. The next morning, she was already in the kitchen, staring at her phone like she'd been awake for hours. "Did you hear anything last night?" I asked, pouring coffee. She nodded without looking up. "Yeah, you were talking in your sleep." "No, I mean, you kept saying, 'They're still watching,' over and over." She finally met my eyes. "Beth, are you okay?" I lied, said it was probably a dream, changed the subject. I told myself I'd check the attic after work. That was a mistake, because by the time I got home, the blinking light behind the vent was gone. The dust on the grate disturbed again, someone had moved it. And in the attic, beneath boxes we hadn't even unpacked, I found something worse. Wiring. Thick black wiring, threaded between the rafters. Not modern. Cloth-wrapped, old. But newer cables too, zip-tied together, merging into a central metal box bolted to a beam. The box was humming. I crouched and opened it. Inside, a red LED screen. Numbers, dates. One of them was our move-in day. The others were from before. Months before. Years. One of them was tomorrow. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Jenna. She was tense, pacing the hallway. I heard her whispering, like she was practicing something. I waited until she went into the bathroom, then grabbed her phone off the counter. Her call log was clean. Too clean. Messages deleted, photos empty, recent searches wiped, but her audio recorder app had 3 hidden files. The oldest one played first, just static and distant voices, ours. From the bedroom. "I don't want to live here anymore," my voice said. "You don't have a choice," Jenna's voice replied. Except I never said that, and she never did either. The second file, dinner sounds, silverware, wine glasses clinking. We're laughing. She says something about me getting promoted, but I hadn't told her yet. I got the offer yesterday. The third file was silent, until the end. Then right before it cut out, Jenna's voice again. "They're watching you now, Beth. Don't act different." My hand was shaking. I put the phone back. That night, she asked me what I wanted for dinner. Said it like nothing was wrong. Then halfway through eating, she stared at me and said, "You've been more compliant than the others." I dropped my fork. She blinked like she didn't remember saying it. I pulled out my laptop after she went to bed, hacked into the router. There were IP addresses I didn't recognize, 7 devices connected that weren't ours. I traced one of them to a local port. It took me to a login screen. Username pre-filled, Observer B, password field blinking. I guessed Beth 1987. Access granted. A folder popped up, Behavioral Archive Subject B, video thumbnails, hundreds, all time-stamped, all before we moved in. I clicked one. It was me, sleeping, then walking, then brushing my teeth in a bathroom I'd never seen before, but it was ours. Same layout, same mirror crack. Another file, Jenna, crying in the closet, rocking back and forth, over and over again. Then I noticed something else. Some of the files weren't named by date. They were labeled Response to Stimulus 4B, Reaction, Trust Failure, Escalation, Partner 1 Resistance. I shut the laptop, stared at the wall for an hour. When I confronted her, I didn't scream. I just asked, "How long have you been here?" She froze. Then she cried. But not fear, not panic. Guilt. "I don't remember before the house," she whispered. "I remember you, but only here. I think I've been recorded longer than you have." She showed me a scar behind her ear, small, round, like something had been implanted. "I have dreams of other people, of being told what to say. But when I try to remember..." She looked at me, eyes hollow. "I don't think I chose this." Neither of us knew what to do. The next morning I opened the mailbox. One envelope. No stamp. No sender. Inside a note on thick paper. "Congratulations on being selected. Continue behaving normally. Your contract is still active." I looked up at the house. All the cameras turned toward me, at once. That night, I went to destroy the attic box, but it was gone. In its place, just a new folder on my desktop. It had appeared on its own. File name, Test Subject A is beginning to suspect MP4. I clicked play. It was me, watching the video, live. The end. It was just another Friday night shift, and the building was dead quiet, how I liked it. No more people, no more requests, just floors to mop, trash to haul, and the chemical bins to roll out for disposal. I'd done this run 100 times. The service elevator always took me straight to B3, where the waste unit sat. But tonight, something was off the second I pressed the button. The panel flickered. Not in a dramatic horror movie way, just a lazy, flickering blink, like the bulb was tired. The elevator doors closed slower than usual, like they were deciding whether to trap me. I tapped the panel. Nothing lit up. I hit B3 again a little harder. Then all at once, the floor display blinked red. 4, there is nowhere 4. I didn't press it. No building in this city has 4 sublevels. I felt the elevator lurch, but instead of the soft hum of descent, there was a dragging grind, like gears chewing something soft. I braced my hand on the wall. Silence. Then a ding. Doors slid open, concrete, gray, damp. No signs, no lights except one flickering overhead. I should have stayed. I should have hammered that emergency button, called it a glitch, and ridden back up. But I stepped out. I don't know why. The elevator doors closed behind me before I could turn. No button on the outside. Just smooth concrete where a panel should be. I stood there holding the bin of chemical waste, the wheels squeaking slightly as I adjusted my grip. Something dripped from the ceiling, sharp and chemical. I sniffed the air, bleach, mold, old wet metal. 5 doors lined the hallway, unmarked, identical. I opened the first one, cleaning supplies. Second one, same. Third, same again. But the fourth one, it looked like a break room. I thought finally somewhere to sit and radio upstairs. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Old couch, coffee maker. But on the far wall I saw them, rows of uniforms, janitor uniforms, all identical to mine. Each one labeled the same way. Our hodes, our hodes. Dozens of them, some stained, some folded, some hanging as if just ironed. Not a single one had a different name. My throat dried out. I whispered my name just to hear it out loud, just to anchor myself. Calvin Rhodes, no echo. The static from my walkie-talkie cracked loud in my pocket, nearly made me jump. I grabbed it fast, thumbed the button. Base, I'm on, I don't know where I am. Something's wrong. Elevator dropped me past B3, I'm on some Manor 4 level. Only static answered, then a voice cut in, my voice. Should have stayed in the elevator. I dropped it, my hand was shaking, that wasn't a recording. I turned, ran to the hallway, back to where the elevator had been, but it was gone. Just wall, no doors, no seam. I didn't sleep, couldn't. I tried to write on the concrete with my Sharpie. Help, stuck on sublevel, elevator gone. I paced, my legs ached. My skin itched from sweat and stress. A full hour passed. Then the itching got worse. I rolled up my sleeve. The same message I'd written on the wall was now carved faintly into my forearm, like it had been there for days, scabbed over. My skin knew before I did. I screamed, full throat, no shame scream. It didn't echo, just absorbed into the concrete. The vending machine in the break room buzzed. I hadn't noticed it was on. There was no power line running to it. But something had changed. The top row now held 3 wrapped sandwiches. Still cold, no brand, just plastic and meat. I hadn't eaten in hours. I waited. waited again. Then I took one. The bread tasted like paper, the meat like wet pennies. I forced it down. I waited for help, for noise, for a trickle of light through the ceiling vent, for anything. At some point, I slept, I think, or I closed my eyes and opened them hours later to find a fresh uniform on the couch. My size, name already stitched, R. Hodes. I didn't remember putting it on. I don't remember much about the next part. Time blurred. The lights dimmed. The hallway stretched longer. The closets started showing new things. Old mop buckets I recognized. My first pair of boots, still caked in dust from a job 5 years ago. One door opened to reveal a mirror. I looked older. I looked tired. But the face wasn't quite mine. Eyes too narrow, skin grayer, like it had been copied wrong. The radio crackled again. Roads, return to surface, maintenance complete. My knees almost buckled from relief. I ran. Where the wall had been, an elevator now stood. Doors open, bright inside. I didn't hesitate. I leapt in, slammed the close button. It didn't move. Then it did. Up. I clutched the side rail. My fingers were numb. I felt my heartbeat in my ears. Ding. Lobby. Doors opened, and I stepped out into silence. Not right silence. Off silence. Reception desk still sat where it should. The security guard was there, but didn't look up. "Daryl?" I called. Nothing. A man walked past me toward the entrance, looked straight through me. I shouted, Hey, I need help!" No reaction, just silence, footsteps, more silence. Something ticked above me. The news ticker. Corp mourns death of longtime janitor Calvin Rhodes. My mouth went dry. I looked around wildly. My reflection in the glass of the front doors was waiting, and it didn't match. He was wearing my uniform, but smiling. I backed up. No one noticed. I walked toward the janitor's closet behind the west elevators. I knew what I'd find before I opened it. Another uniform, labeled, Arhodes fresh, pressed, ready. Footsteps echoed behind me. Another man stepped out of the newly arrived elevator, confused, holding a trash bin. I watched him look around, then start toward the break room door I knew he'd pick. I didn't call out. I knew better. The elevator dinged behind me again. Time to clean. The end. They told me I was a journalist. Said my name was Marcia Dalton, 38, freelancer from Baltimore. I'd been missing 3 months after going undercover to investigate a cult in northern Utah. They said they rescued me. I had bruises, hair matted with blood, some infection in my shoulder they wouldn't explain. But I don't remember writing that article. I don't remember agreeing to any assignment. I remember firelight behind my eyelids when I closed them. Something warm on my face. A name whispered too softly to repeat. I told them that. They nodded like they already knew. My room at the recovery center was small. Gray carpet, bed bolted to the floor, no mirrors. The lampshade gave off a low hum like tinnitus. They said it helped with reacclimation. The staff wore ID tags, smiled too much. Every one of them asked the same question eventually. Do you remember what they made you believe? I didn't. Not then. But I kept dreaming of the same woman. My face, but smiling in a way I've never smiled, looking down on people kneeling, dozens of them, their mouths open like baby birds. My voice in the dream would say just one word, enough. One night I found a journal tucked under my mattress, leather cover, my name etched on the spine. Inside were pages and pages of writing in a looping, severe hand, Latin phrases, names, a timeline, and one sentence written again and again, "You are not her." I ran straight to Dr. Kenner, the lead deprogrammer. His office smelled like rubber and old coffee. He took the journal from me gently, like he already knew what it was. He said, "That's part of your cover, Marcia. You wrote that to stay embedded. Don't trust it now." I asked, "Why doesn't it feel like mine?" He just smiled. That wide, too polished smile. 2 days later, they started the sessions. They called it deep cognitive auditing, bright lights. A white chair that clicked when I shifted. The same scripted questions read in the same order every time. Do you know where you are? Yes. Do you know what year it is? Yes. Do you remember who you are? Always that pause. Always that tightening in my chest like something wanted to say no. Then one night, something cracked. Kenner didn't even ask the first question yet. He opened his folder, cleared his throat, and I blurted it out without thinking. Do you know what year it is? He stopped, blinked. The others, 3 of them seated just out of view behind mirrored glass, sat forward. Kenner closed the folder slowly. and then he said something I wasn't ready for. Subject is pre-reciting. Stage 4 cross-leak. I felt something sharp shift inside me. That night, my door didn't lock. No one checked on me during hourly rounds. So I wandered. Down gray halls, past the therapy rooms, past the cafeteria I was no longer allowed in. I kept going until I found the media room. Inside, rows of tape decks, reel-to-reel machines, labeled drawers. I opened one. Control session 17. Subject believes she is real. I pressed play. A hiss. Then my voice, dry, tired, whispering. Please, I want to stop. A pause. Then the same voice, mine but colder. You already did. I hit stop. Everything in my body started trembling. Not shaking, just vibrating. A low hum that felt like it came from the walls, like they were mimicking me. The next morning, I woke up with a bandage on my arm. No memory of sleep, no pain, just the gauze and the smell of iodine. I asked the nurse what happened. She tilted her head and said, Subject 8A is experiencing dissociation. Not unusual. That wasn't my name, was it? I went back to my room, pulled the journal out again. Last page had fresh ink. You woke up too early. Later that night, I pressed my ear to the vent in the ceiling. I could hear them talking in the room above. She was never undercover. Someone scrambled the profile too late. We should have terminated during extraction. The lights flickered. For just a moment I smelled firewood, heard chanting. When I blinked, there were ash flakes on the floor. My bare feet crushed them into the carpet. I didn't sleep again. I stopped answering questions. The staff shifted, stopped using my name. One nurse called me Nala. I said, that's not my name. She said, it was. The word stuck in my throat like a fishbone. So I ran. Took a key card from one of the laundry staff, waited until the fire alarm drill, slipped through the east gate, walked for 3 hours along back roads until I saw the edge of the old compound. The cult's land had burned to the ground weeks ago, according to the report. But it wasn't ash I found, it was silence. Not quiet, silence like the kind between heartbeats. Trees still stood, but they looked wrong, like shadows pretending to be trees. The dirt under my shoes pulsed like it had a pulse of its own. I found the chapel, or what was left of it, all gone except the altar. A slab of stone blackened with soot but untouched by collapse. I stood in front of it, every part of me screaming to run, but I didn't. There was something buried beneath it, a small metal box. Inside, a recording device, a tape still running. I pressed play. My voice came through, no echo, no age, like I'd just spoken it. Let them think they woke me. A pause. Let them think I forgot. Another voice joined. This one wasn't mine, but it knew me. Kneel, Nala, it's time. Then chanting started. Slow, rhythmic, and my voice led it, not begging, not pleading, commanding, a command that made my knees go weak. I dropped the recorder. I don't remember walking back, just waking up in a field, bleeding from the soles of my feet. The journal gone, the tape still in my hand. That was 3 days ago. I'm not sure who I'm telling this to. They said my family flew in yesterday, but I don't recognize them. Their smiles don't reach their eyes. I keep hearing that word again too. Nala. Sometimes it's whispered from the vents. Sometimes it's printed inside books that didn't have titles yesterday. Last night, I found the mirror. It was hidden behind the wall panel near the closet. I saw her again, my reflection, smiling, mouth moving even when mine stayed still. She said just one word, enough. And I finally remembered. I wasn't part of the cult. I was the one they built it around. The end. I thought it was a scam. The envelope was off-white, thick like wedding stationery, no return address, no stamp. Just Rowan written in faint, blocky print, like it had been spat out by an old typewriter. I didn't remember anyone asking for my resume recently, didn't remember applying to anything in weeks. But the cash was gone. Rent was due. And inside the envelope there was an NDA, real paper, legal formatting, signature lines, and a job offer from a company I'd never heard of. Epoch Insight. No logo, just an address and a start date, tomorrow. I signed. There was no orientation. The building sat behind a frosted glass door on the 8th floor of a vacant-looking office block. The door buzzed open as I approached. No receptionist, no hallway, just white walls, white floor, and a narrow corridor that bent at a sharp angle. At the end was a room. One desk, one chair, one screen, no keyboard. The screen flickered to life when I sat. A single sentence appeared. Answer before thinking. No explanation. Just that. Then another. Is this the first time you've seen this message? Yes, no. My hands moved on their own. Yes. The screen blinked. Next phrase, observe self. Then it dimmed. I waited. Nothing else came. Not for an hour, maybe 2. Then a soft beep. The screen lit again. Well done. I was paid in cash at the end of the day. No clock, no windows, just a little white envelope on the desk when I turned to leave. The next morning I returned, not because I understood it, but because the money was real. Each day was the same. The screen delivered phrases like, "Where were you, really?" Or, "Do you agree with your hands?" I started answering instinctively, fast. It was addictive, like playing a game I didn't know I'd been practicing all my life. The 4th day, there was someone else in the room next to mine. I didn't see them, just heard the door click shut across the corridor. We never spoke. Not at first. Then I noticed the ticking. Faint. Mechanical. It came every time I blinked, like the sound of a metronome in the skull. I started staying up later, unable to sleep. I'd lie down and my thoughts would loop. Observe self. Answer before thinking. Observe self. One night I said something aloud before my girlfriend did. Word for word. She paused and asked how I knew. I didn't. By the 2nd week, the coworker changed. The new guy looked different. Taller, darker skin, but spoke with the same odd pauses, the same fixed politeness, same eerie rhythm. "Do you know how many of us there are?" he asked casually at lunch. I shook my head. He waited a few seconds too long, then said, "You shouldn't have agreed. That paper was never meant to be delivered." I never saw him again after that. Next day, someone else sat in his room. Female voice. Same cadence. I stopped asking questions out loud. That was when I found the file. It was buried behind a pane in the wall, loose, like someone had opened it before. Behind it, a black binder, dusty, labeled Reintegration Protocol, Test Subject R. My name. I opened it. Inside, typed pages, notes in the margins, all in my handwriting. I don't remember writing any of it. Each task from the screen was listed. Each answer I gave, each one predicted ahead of time with timestamps that matched exactly. One section was titled, Week 3 Psychological Drift Indicators. It listed symptoms, auditory time sync, ego thinning, shared phrase recall. Final page, Subject R has accepted full cognitive alignment with Epoch Insight Protocol. Memory leakage may produce anomaly responses. Allow until reintegration is complete. And at the bottom, a sentence that updated right before my eyes. He now realizes he was always working here. I dropped it. I didn't sleep that night. I tried to quit. Tried calling the number on the original NDA. It rang, then looped back to my own voicemail. I emailed the only contact I had. The reply came instantly. Exit denied. Reintegration phase incomplete. The ticking got louder. At work, the screen began displaying phrases I hadn't answered yet, but they described what I was thinking. Panic is not permitted. Blink only when acknowledged. Are these your memories? One message read, "She's not real, Rowan." When I got home, my girlfriend was gone. No trace. No toothbrush, no shoes, no shared photos. My phone showed no texts, no call logs. My apartment lease listed only my name. I opened the fridge. Nothing. Not even magnets. I tried to leave the city. Drove 6 hours west. Every sign I passed, highway exits, motel numbers, street names, they started repeating, "Observe self. Do you know this road? Turn back, Rowan." The further I drove, the more my thoughts detached, like my brain was skimming, buffering. I pulled over, threw up on the side of the road. When I looked up, there was a building across the field. Same shape, same frosted glass door, Epoch Insight. I never left. The next day, the desk was gone. Just the chair and the screen. My name was on the wall now, painted in soft gray, repeating in a spiral. Rowan, Rowan, Rowan. The final message on the screen, choose your ending. 2 buttons appeared, neither labeled. I sat, didn't move. After a long pause, the screen flashed one last phrase. You never chose, so we chose for you. And everything went white. When I woke up, I was back at my old apartment. The clock read 6:15 a.m. Sunlight filtered through the blinds. My phone buzzed. A calendar reminder. First day at Epoch Insight. I screamed until my throat tore. The file was still under my bed. I hadn't signed anything yet, except I checked the envelope. My signature was already there, dated last week. Every drawer in my apartment was empty. No past, no job search, no saved files on my laptop, just one folder, reintegration logs. The same folder I'd found behind the wall, except now there were more entries. tomorrow's date, and the next. Each labeled Subject R, Self-Observation Confirmed, each one written in my voice. Final page, updating again. He forgets each time, but the system remembers. It always remembers. The screen turned on by itself. Same phrase as always, answer before thinking. The end. I thought Jack was making it up. Little kids invent imaginary friends all the time. Hell, I had one named Spindle who lived under my dresser and only ate marshmallows. So when Jack started mentioning Dad in those casual, tossed-off ways, I didn't flinch at first. Dad makes better pancakes. Dad says I can watch cartoons before bed. Dad's picking me up tomorrow. At first, I just smiled, said something like, "Oh yeah, he sounds nice." I mean, what else was I supposed to say? Jack never met his father. Ryan died 6 months before Jack was born. Car crash. I was 20 weeks pregnant and screaming into an empty hospital hallway when the doctor came in. So yeah, there was no dad. I didn't correct Jack right away. I figured it was some little boy fantasy, maybe wish fulfillment. But then he started adding details I couldn't shake. Dad's got that cut under his eye, remember? What cut? I asked. Jack squinted, tracing a small curved line beneath his left eyelid with a grimy finger. Like this, but not red anymore. I froze mid-dishwashing. That wasn't a detail you invent. Not at 6. Not once had I ever described Ryan that way. He didn't have any scars. But the man in Jack's drawings did. Over and over again, a thick gray crayon slash under the eye, always on the left. The face was off, too. Darker hair, a leaner jawline. Not Ryan. I asked him where he saw that man. Jack said, "He lives here." I laughed too hard and told him to go set the table. But I checked the locks that night. Twice. The next time I saw the drawing, it was stuck to the fridge with a magnet I don't remember buying. Green, glittery letters spelling Dad in bubble font. That word again. I threw the magnet in the trash. The drawing I kept. I called my sister to vent. "You're overthinking it," Sarah said. "Probably just a teacher or something. Maybe he saw a scar and fixated on it." But Jack wasn't in school yet, and I didn't have male friends. My world was work, Jack, laundry, sleep, repeat. One night I found him talking into a plastic toy phone. I paused outside his door, just listening. "No, she doesn't know I found the box." "Yeah, I told you already. She cries when she looks at it." I stepped inside. "Jack, who are you talking to?" He looked up calmly. "Dad." My stomach twisted. "What box?" "The one under your bed, with the blue paper and all the pictures." He glanced down at the phone, then whispered, "Dad told me already." There was a blue photo box under my bed, locked. It had the only printed photos of Ryan I'd kept. Us at the lake, the baby ultrasound, his obituary. Jack had never seen it, I was sure. The next morning, my home assistant chirped awake and announced, "Good morning, Marin. Reminder, dinner with Jack and Dad tonight at 6:30 p.m. Confirm?" I stared at the device. "Cancel that reminder." Silence. "Cancel." I repeated louder. "Reminder deleted," it replied. My chest was tight for the rest of the day. I went through every setting on the app, no recent entries, nothing on my calendar. I reset the entire system, factory default. But that night at 6:30, Jack came downstairs in his nice pants and asked, "Do I have to wear shoes to dinner with Dad?" I said no. Then I made him sit with me while I ordered a pizza. I started finding things. Photos I'd never taken. Jack sitting on a swing next to a man with a soft smile and, yes, the scar under his left eye. Both of them laughing. In another, they were in a canoe on a lake I didn't recognize. My handwriting was on the back. Summer weekend, 2022. I checked the EXIF data on my phone. Those dates didn't match anything I remembered. I called Sarah again. "You're spiraling, Marin," she said. "Seriously, sleep. Get some help." But when I showed her the photos, her smile twitched. "I think I remember this trip." There was no trip. "You're sure?" she said. "You texted me pictures, I swear. I thought it was some new guy you were seeing." "There's no guy, and I don't even know this man." She went quiet after that. Didn't answer my texts for 2 days. I asked Mrs. Pirelli, my neighbor, to babysit for an hour, just to breathe. Her face brightened when I dropped Jack off. "He's been so sweet lately," she said, "and polite, just like his dad." I stopped. "You mean Ryan?" She blinked. "No, the man who drops him off sometimes, the one with the car. Scar under his, oh." Her eyes flicked up. "Is something wrong?" My stomach dropped into my knees. "Can I see your Ring camera footage from last week?" She hesitated. "I deleted after 24 hours. I didn't sleep that night. I just watched Jack breathing under his covers and kept one hand on my phone, the other on the bat beside the bed." The next day, I walked into a therapist's office. Not for me. I thought maybe Jack needed to talk to someone. The receptionist asked my name. I told her. She checked her screen. "Ah, right, one sec." She got up, vanished into the back. I glanced down at the desk and froze. There was a file left open. The label read, "Client, Maren Klein." Underneath, "Subject redundant, transfer initiated." There were notes, dozens, typed and printed. "Memory rejection increasing. Host maintains false continuity narrative. Male presence introduced to stabilize child memory framework. Caregiver exhibiting breakdown of fabricated self-schema." I couldn't breathe. I lifted the file, hands shaking, flipping through. Photos of me at my desk, eating, sleeping, notes about my emotional anchor response. Diagrams of neural loops. The receptionist returned. "Excuse me. Who wrote this?" I snapped. "I think you're confused. You're not supposed to." "I never booked an appointment here," I said. "I came for my son." Her face shifted, so subtly I almost missed it. Then she smiled, weird and soft. "You've done very well, Maren." I ran. Back home, Jack wasn't in the house. I screamed his name. No answer. The home assistant came on again. "Maren, your presence is no longer required. Transfer complete." I smashed it with the bat. In Jack's room, the toy phone was gone. So were all the drawings. His bed was made. Neat. My own face stared back at me from a photo on the dresser. But something was wrong. My eyes were too wide. My mouth slightly open, like I'd just heard something I couldn't unhear. A note was tucked underneath. "Thank you for your participation. Emotional proxies must be severed to preserve imprint integrity." That's when I noticed the last line. "Termination scheduled, 48 hours post-rejection." I've been hiding ever since. No one remembers Jack anymore. I went to his old daycare, new staff, new manager. "We've never had a child by that name," they told me. I called Sarah. She said, "Who's Jack?" My phone won't hold charge. My credit card stopped working. Every photo on my cloud has been replaced, blank or worse, ones I don't recognize. I'm in them, but my eyes are never looking at the camera. They're looking just off to the side, at someone else, someone with a scar under his eye. The end. I've worked the same mail route for 22 years. Rain, snow, the flood, it never mattered. People still need their bills, their junk, their little packages of medication and regret. After the flood took out most of Walden Hollow, FEMA and some private contractors came in and somehow rebuilt it exactly as it was. Every street sign repainted, every cobblestone relaid in the square, even the weird little fountain outside City Hall got its crack replicated. But the church, they left it out, like it never existed. But I remember. I remember the stained glass windows, the bell tower. I remember Pastor Yule's voice carrying through the fog on Sunday mornings, deep and slow, like it came from underneath the ground. And then one morning, 2 weeks after we officially reopened, I got a letter in the return bin. No stamp, just a black wax seal that flaked off like ash when I touched it. The envelope looked scorched, like it'd been rescued from a fire. No sender, no recipient, just an address. The Chapel of Hollow Faith, Walden Hollow, future year 2039. I laughed at first, thought it was some art school prank or a weird viral campaign. I asked Sharon in the front office if we'd had any other weird mail lately. She just stared at me, then said, "There's never been a chapel here, David. Are you feeling okay?" The next day, 3 more letters. Same ash-stained paper, same impossible date, same black seal. That's when I noticed something else. The letters weren't going through the usual sorting machine. They'd already been marked undeliverable. That meant someone or something was placing them directly in the return bin, and only I was finding them. I kept them in my bag, tucked under the little divider next to my lunch. Didn't tell Sharon, didn't tell Linda. Linda's my wife. We've been married since '02. She's solid, quiet, the kind who keeps extra candles in the house even when there's no storm coming. She didn't blink when I told her about the letters, just kept stirring the soup. "Maybe someone's messing with you," she said. "Or maybe it's a test. You know they always mess with your head before retirement." I hadn't told her I'd been thinking of retiring. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard something that sounded like a bell tolling far off, too low to be real. A metal groan that seemed to shake through my teeth. The next morning, I saw them. 3 people, all standing on Birch Street facing the empty lot where the church used to be. I recognized them. Mrs. Keller, who'd run the antique store, Gary Runnell, the math teacher who still limped from the flood, and my neighbor Eileen, who always waved at my truck. They stood completely still, not talking, not blinking. Their lips moved, softly, rhythmically, like prayer, but no sound. I pulled over and called out to them. Nothing. They didn't even flinch. I walked right up to Eileen, touched her shoulder. She blinked once and whispered, "You weren't supposed to remember." She didn't look at me, just kept facing the lot. The next day there were more. Different people, same place, all facing that bare patch of land, all mouthing the same silent prayer. I walked my route, sweat sticking to my back, heart knocking like a second pulse in my ears. Every corner, every mailbox, I checked the street, watched windows, and I kept seeing them. Different people every time, same pose, same direction, same silence. Even Sharon. She was out there near the end of my shift, standing right on the sidewalk in front of City Hall. Her eyes were blank and streaming with tears. I called her name. She said it too. "You weren't supposed to remember." At home that night, Linda was already at the window. No TV, no lights, just her standing, staring into the dark where the church once stood. I crept up behind her. My hands shook so bad I nearly dropped the last letter I'd found. I didn't want to say her name. I just didn't want to hear her say it too, but she didn't say it. Instead, she whispered, "I can hear the bell again." I hadn't told her about the bell. Next morning, I marched into the mayor's office. There were no security guards, no receptionist, just the mayor sitting perfectly still in her chair like she'd been waiting all night. "You're not on the calendar," she said, eyes flat. I slammed the letters on her desk. She didn't flinch. "What church?" she said. I pointed out the window, right at the empty lot. Her mouth opened, closed, open again. "That land's never been developed. It's condemned. Bad soil. Unsafe." I pointed to the town seal on the wall behind her. Plain as day, a little line drawing of a steeple right at the center. She turned slowly and stared at it. Then she said, like she was trying to convince herself, "There's never been a church in Walden Hollow." I left before she could speak again. Something about her face looked stretched, like her skin was trying to hide something underneath. I drove straight to the lot. It wasn't overgrown. It wasn't muddy. It was just untouched. Clean soil, flat, no tracks, no bugs, no wind, like nothing wanted to touch it. I grabbed a shovel from my truck and started digging. 12 inches down, I hit something solid. It wasn't wood. It was metal. A bell. Small, like one you'd find on a pastor's table. And carved into its side right along the rim was my name. David Allen Greaves. I touched it and it rang without moving. Not a loud chime, just a low, bruised sound, like the groan of something buried too long. I didn't ring it. It rang me. When I stood up, the street was full. Everyone. Dozens of people. Faces I knew. Faces I didn't. All standing, all silent, all staring directly at me. And then in perfect unison they spoke. "You weren't supposed to remember." My knees buckled. I dropped the bell. It didn't bounce. It just vanished into the dirt. I ran, back to my truck, back home, back through the streets that now felt too precise, too clean. Every house rebuilt just right. No variation. No mistakes. Like someone had copied Walden Hollow from a dream and left out the parts they didn't like. I found Linda in the living room, not moving, her lips twitching. "What are you saying?" I begged. She didn't answer, but her mouth kept moving. I leaned in. She was mouthing something different. "It never left," she whispered. "It was never above us." Then she looked straight at me, pupils dilated wide as oceans. It was under the church. That night I dreamed of water, not a flood, but still water, still as glass, stretching forever beneath the town. And from its depths something massive pulsed, not alive, not dead, just there, a weight, a presence. The church hadn't been destroyed, it had been removed, not by flood, by the town, covered over, erased. But something had heard the bell, something had answered. This morning I found one more letter. It wasn't in my bag, it was under my pillow, no seal this time. Just a single sentence scrawled in what looked like soot. "You rang it." I didn't go to work, the trucks didn't come, no one is outside. And Linda, She's still at the window, still staring, still mouthing. I'm afraid to look at what she's saying now, but I can hear the bell, ringing, 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 the end. It started on the G line, Tuesday night, rush hour but quieter than usual. I was sitting by the door, earbuds in, zoning out to some ambient set I'd played too many times. That's when she stepped in. No bag, no phone, hair tied in a messy bun like she'd forgotten how to use a mirror. She sat across from me, eyes locked the second she did. At first I thought she was staring at the tattoos on my hands. Happens a lot. I smiled, nodded. She didn't blink. Then she lifted her sleeve. Underneath, on her forearm, was a small circular symbol, thin-lined, with these tiny spurs breaking off the edges. Like a halo someone had tried to saw in half. My stomach dropped. It looked exactly like the birthmark I used to have. Exactly. She leaned in just enough to speak, but her lips barely moved. They kept yours too. Then the train lurched and she was up, walking toward the opposite door before I could react. She got off at Bergen. I stood, tried to follow, but the doors closed fast, and I just stood there, fingers trembling. I hadn't thought about the mark in years. Mom said it was removed when I was 5, a laser thing, she called it. Said I'd picked at it constantly, made it worse. I checked my arm that night. Scar was still there, pale, like old milk. But now I couldn't stop tracing it. That night I dreamed of a white hallway. No doors, just these flickering lights and rows of stainless tables. I couldn't see who I was following, but I knew I'd followed them before. Next morning I had 2 new appointment requests. Walk-ins, both asking for custom circular designs. One sent a sketch, rough, grainy. My hands locked when I opened it. Same symbol, same one the woman had, same one I used to wear on my skin. The second client showed up at noon, middle-aged man, sunglasses indoors. I asked where he'd seen the design. He said, "Dream, I think, or maybe, I don't know. It just felt..." He left without paying. Didn't even take the aftercare sheet. The week only got weirder. 7 different clients, all requesting variations of the same mark. Some placed it on their back, some on the ribs, but every single one said they'd seen it somewhere they couldn't remember. Thursday I started digging. Image searches, tattoo forums, subreddits. I landed in a private thread called Skin Memory Lost. Password protected, hidden deep. One post caught me cold. If your original birthmark is gone, but the scar's still there, check your dates. They don't match. They never match. I clicked the poster's profile. Their profile pic wasn't a face. It was a hospital bracelet. I searched mine, my real one, the one Mom kept in the baby box. The font looked off, too clean. And the date? May 3rd, 1993. I pulled out my first legal photo ID. License said April 28th. 5 days. Gone. That night, someone broke into my apartment. Nothing was stolen. Not the cash box, not the gear. Just the folder in the closet. Old photos, baby stuff, school records. Gone. I opened the drawer where I kept my insurance docs, empty. But there was something else, slipped beneath the floorboard near my mattress. I'd only found that gap once, moving in, when my key fell through. An envelope, yellowed, taped shut. Inside were 3 hospital bracelets, all with my name. All from a facility I'd never heard of. Sycamore Rehab and Pediatric Unit. One dated April 25th, 1993. The others? No date at all. I hadn't spoken to Mom in months, not since Christmas when she slipped and called me Lena instead of Leah. She'd brushed it off, old nickname, Baby Nothing. But that name never existed in any card, any yearbook, nothing. I messaged the forum, sent a photo of the bracelets. Within minutes I got a reply from someone named M Ghost. Meet in person, no phones. Manhattan Bridge, Midspan, Saturday 11:11 p.m. I almost didn't go, but I couldn't not. I needed to know. Needed someone else to say it. He was already there when I arrived, hoodie pulled up, gloves on like it was colder than it was. He didn't say hello, just stared at my arm and said, "You were purchased, not born." I laughed. I don't know why. My ribs hurt from it. But he kept talking. They removed you from something. A queue, a selection line. They call it the sorting room. My mouth went dry. He pulled up his sleeve, the same symbol, except his was blurred, like it had been burned off and tried to regrow. They scrub names, rewire dates. They think if you forget your own skin, you'll forget the room, but it bleeds through. I asked him who they were. He just said buyers, brokers, recyclers. He didn't stay long, said I'd know what to do next, said the dreams would start repeating soon. That night, I tattooed the symbol back onto my arm, same spot, same size. Halfway through, my hands shook so bad I had to stop, but I finished. As soon as I wiped it clean, I passed out. In the dream, I was 5, standing barefoot in a white room, knees wobbling. There were 6 of us, all the same age, same gowns. A woman behind glass circled the room, clipboard in hand. She stopped in front of me, looked straight into my eyes, and nodded. The man beside her wore scrubs, whispered something into her ear. She smiled. "I'll take her." That was her voice, my mother's voice. I woke up screaming. My phone was gone. Lights flickered. The new tattoo burned hot like it was alive. I ran to the mirror. The mark had bled into the scar beneath, like it knew where to grow. I haven't slept since. Each night the room gets clearer, the children blurrier. But the voice never changes. It always says my name, and it's not Leah. The end. I signed up for the money. $800 for 5 nights of monitored sleep, no devices, no caffeine, and a handful of weirdly worded NDAs I barely skimmed. The recruiter called it a passive neurological study with mild induction techniques. I called it Rent. The first night, they plugged in a mesh cap, strapped me to a biometric chair, and dimmed the lights until I couldn't see my own hand. A woman's voice, calm, maybe synthesized, told me to breathe slowly and permit entry. That phrase stuck with me. Permit entry. Like I was opening a door. I dreamed of mirrors, thousands of them, shoulder height, set in neat rows across a field of dry, white grass. I kept trying to see my reflection, but every glass surface showed something else. Not me. One showed a man with his back to me, staring into the distance. Another, a little girl crouched, sobbing. One was just black, pulsing like a heartbeat. I woke up to the facilitator asking how I felt. He said others had the mirror field too. Said it was a high correlation dream point. That should have scared me, but it didn't. Not yet. By night 3, it wasn't just mirrors. The dreams expanded, a dense forest, silent. No birds, no rustling, just tree after identical tree, and a train, always moving, never stopping. I'd walk through car after car, empty booths, fluorescent flickers, the faint smell of something burnt. When I described the train, the facilitator blinked twice. Then he asked, "Were you walking toward the front or the back?" I said front. He checked a box. Night 4, I didn't even need the induction. I dreamed without it. Not just during sleep either. In the bathroom, brushing my teeth, I blinked and there it was. Mirror field. Row 12, mirror 7. A man with my face, slowly smiling like he knew a secret I hadn't caught yet. I almost called it off. Almost packed my bag and walked. But something pulled me back. I didn't want answers. I wanted continuity. Like a show I couldn't stop watching, even if the plot was turning against me. Night 5, it got worse. One of the other participants, Kayla, I think, screamed mid-session. We heard it through the glass. The facilitators didn't even flinch. They just clicked pens and made notes while she thrashed against the harness, crying, "That's not Darren! That's not him! He's the sleeper!" My name. My fucking name. After they wheeled her out sedated, I cornered the technician and demanded to see the session logs. At first he said no, protocol, whatever. But when I started shouting, 2 guards came, led me down a hallway I didn't recognize, and sat me in a small room with a single screen. It showed a live feed, time-stamped, looping, and in it, I was talking, smiling, nodding along, eyes open, engaging with the team. Except I had no memory of that session, not a blink. I watched myself say, "We're closer now, the integration's begun." Then I blinked straight into the camera. I didn't say those words. I didn't remember sitting there. But that version of me, he did. I demanded they let me leave. They didn't argue. They just walked me back. But not to my quarters. They took me down 3 floors, past locked gates and scanner doors to a cold hallway with no signs. At the end was a white room marked Asset D. Inside there was no bed. Just a reclining chair and a large monitor on the wall. A single speaker above it hissed softly, like it was waiting to click on. On the screen, me, sleeping, twitching under the mesh cap, eyes darting violently beneath the lids. I turned, and there was a mirror. My breath caught, because the reflection wasn't mine. It was someone else entirely. Short hair, a lab coat, holding a clipboard. A man I didn't recognize. watching me from inside the glass, calm, like he'd been waiting for me. I stepped back. The mirror didn't match. I lifted my hand. The man inside didn't move, didn't copy me, just watched. Behind me, the door clicked. A researcher entered, no expression, clipboard in hand. He didn't greet me, just read aloud, "You're the dream, he's the sleeper. Please return to your origin." My mouth opened, but no words came. He pointed to the chair. "Return." I said no, said I was real. I demanded a phone call, a lawyer, anything that would make sense of this. He just smiled. "Your reaction is consistent with version 32. You're stable. That's good. Please sit." My legs buckled. I stumbled to the chair, not by choice. I needed to understand, just for 1 second. "Who is that?" I point to the sleeping me on the monitor. "You are, or were. That depends." He tapped the glass. "You're a recursion, Darren. A self-sustaining perceptual echo. We stimulate him, and you form." He tapped his clipboard. "Until he wakes." I shook my head. "No, I've been awake this whole time. I ate, I walked, I talked to the others." He looked at me like I was a child. "And what do you think the others are?" Silence. I remembered Kayla's face, screaming, her eyes wide, broken. Not scared of me, scared for me. "I'm not a dream," I whispered. But the screen showed my body twitching, sweat pooling under my neck. The mirror showed that stranger nodding once, turning to walk away. I ran to the glass, pounded it, screamed. No sound returned, no echo, nothing. Just a flat surface that held someone else. The man in the coat opened a hidden panel in the wall, pulled out a syringe. I backed away. "Don't," I said. "I need to wake up." "You can't," he replied. "You're not built for that." He pressed the plunger. The world cracked, static, heat behind my eyes. Every muscle pulled inward like a collapsing star. The mirror rippled, then showed me again. Except this time I wasn't moving. He was. The version in the mirror blinked, smiled faintly, and stepped away. I was frozen, trapped in glass, watching him walk. He turned back once, tapped the mirror. "You're the dream," he mouthed. I screamed. Nothing came out. The light dimmed. The monitor blinked off. The door closed, and I was left there, inside the reflection, waiting for someone else to dream me again. The end. It started as background noise. Tuesdays, 9:41 a.m., like clockwork. The fire alarm would wail through the 13th floor, our floor, yanking us from spreadsheets and performance reviews. It was annoying at first. A rote drill. Evacuate, stand by the stairwell exit, wait for facilities to clear us back in. I timed it once, 6 minutes and 18 seconds, every single week. At first, I laughed about it. "Guess it's fire drill Tuesday again," I'd mutter, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. Nobody else really responded. They'd just file out, stiff and quiet, always in the same order. Neil from procurement always led. Eva from finance always trailed, like a loop. It wasn't until the 5th week that something actually burned. It was 9:47. We were just being waved back inside when the conference room, Tamarack 4, lit up. Smoke first, then a low popping sound, then glass shattering outward in slow, awful bursts. The fire suppression system didn't activate. Someone screamed. The smoke didn't smell like paper. It smelled synthetic, like burning phone cases, melting badge lanyards. The company Vanagen shut down floor access for 2 days, but only our floor. They called it a faulty surge in a light ballast. No one asked why a fire started 6 minutes after the alarm, or why the cameras cut out at exactly 9:41. I did. I checked the server logs. The camera feed went dark at 9:41:03. All archived footage overwritten by a blank placeholder titled "Drill in it." That's when I started counting. Minutes, footsteps, the times when coworkers laughed or didn't, what words they used, who said good morning and who didn't. That's when I noticed how no one ever asked why the fire alarm always rang before the fire. The next Tuesday, I didn't evacuate. I hid in the HR copy room. Stupid, I know, but I needed to see. The alarm went off, 9:41. I watched as they filed out again, same order. Neil, then Janelle, then Mark, Eva trailing last. At 9:47, a cubicle on the far west side sparked. Then the smell, the same hot chemical sweetness, the same flicker in the air like heat was warping time itself. No sprinklers, no one screamed, just silence outside. The floor burned in patches like it knew which spots had been unoccupied. I stayed quiet, motionless, not even a breath. The next morning, Neil passed my desk. He paused. just long enough to whisper, "You shouldn't be counting." He kept walking. My stomach turned. That night I logged into the archived personnel records. Restricted access, but I still had admin clearance from my director days. I searched the term termination. Dozens of files came up. Termination date, then heat surge, deceased. I clicked on the oldest one, a woman named Priya Madan, terminated 6 years ago, also on a Tuesday. There was no obituary, no linked kin, just a badge ID and a red stamped file closed. The next Tuesday I unplugged my phone, hid it in my drawer. At 9:41 the alarm blared. I didn't move. I walked past the others while they evacuated. Nobody looked at me. I went to the server room, swiped in. The screen blinked but no feed loaded, just a looping message, permission acquired. At 9:47 the lights flickered, the air turned dry, but nothing burned. Not that day. Instead, when I returned to my desk there was a note under my keyboard. Typed, clean font, no header. The alarms aren't warnings, they're permissions. I didn't sleep that night. I started noticing things. My emails would unsend themselves. My voice didn't echo in the hallway anymore. The same post-it appeared on the break room fridge every day, "Don't microwave fish," but no one brought lunch. I asked Eva if she remembered the fire last week. She blinked slowly. "Fire?" "Yeah, Tamarack 4? She paused. "Oh, that wasn't this week. That was someone else." "What do you mean someone else?" She smiled tightly. "You're not new, are you?" I felt my mouth go dry. "No." She leaned in, whispered, "Then act like it." The next morning, my badge didn't work. It was 9:36. I pounded on the stairwell door until someone buzzed me in. No one would say who. When I got to my desk, my login had reset. No files, no desktop, just a new background. It said, "You have 5 minutes." I looked at the clock. 9:41 was coming. I bolted to facilities. The door was locked. I kicked it in. Inside, the alarm panel was flashing red, but no diagnostics. Just a countdown. I yanked the power. Silence. No alarm. For the first time in 9 weeks, it was quiet. At 9:47, my floor erupted in flames. Not a room, not a corner. The entire floor. I made it to the stairwell. Smoke chased me. Every step down burned hotter. My skin peeled. My breath came in strips. The exit wouldn't open. I slammed my shoulder. Nothing gave. I fell. I don't remember the landing. Just one face. Neil. Leaning over me, he whispered, "You reset the count." I tried to scream. Nothing came out. Then, black. I never left the building. At least that's what the reports say. There's no trace of me in the logs now. My HR file says access denied. My desk is empty. Badge number retired. But every Tuesday at 9:41, the alarm still rings, and someone always burns at 9:47. The end. I almost didn't go inside. The inheritance email had been sitting unread for 6 days. I thought it was spam. Who gets a Victorian mansion from a great aunt they've never heard of? But it was real. A lawyer confirmed everything, signed documents, title transfer, all of it. So I drove upstate, 2 hours into the hills, thinking I'd find some moldy shell of a place. But it was perfect. Creaky and old, yeah, but clean. Still smelled faintly like cedar and mothballs. It had that sharp attic kind of quiet, like even the walls were listening. I wandered through the main hall, past rooms with flowered wallpaper and lace curtains, and it felt familiar. In this itchy, wrong kind of way. Like déjà vu, but meaner. Then I found the blueprints in the study, just lying there on the desk, rolled tight, tied with a red ribbon that looked too new. I unrolled them flat, tracing the floor plan with my fingers. Dining room, parlor, 3 bedrooms upstairs. And then, a square, tucked into the second floor's northwest corner. No door, no label. I stared for a long time before going up the stairs, pacing the hall. The measurements said it should be between the guest bathroom and a narrow linen closet. I knocked along the wall, hollow. Knocked again, lower. Still hollow. Something deep in my gut tensed. I should have stopped. Instead, I got a crowbar from the shed out back and pried off the paneling. Behind the wall was a door frame, bricked over, badly. The mortar crumbled when I touched it. I chipped at it for hours, fingers blistered, until the last brick clattered free. Then I saw it. The room, fully intact, carpeted, furnished, dustless, like it had been waiting. There was a twin bed with a yellowing quilt, a lamp shaped like a swan, a shelf of VHS tapes I hadn't seen since I was 6, my red tricycle, a drawing I made in second grade, my dead cat's collar, still jingling. I backed out slowly, legs weak. I didn't tell anyone, didn't sleep much, and every night after that, I heard something moving inside, shuffling, sometimes breathing. Once a low scraping sound like nails against wood, but whenever I went to look, it was empty. The air inside stayed cold. I stopped turning on the light. I couldn't stand seeing the things in there, all mine, all wrong. 7 days later, I woke up on the floor, carpet, yellow quilt, swan lamp glowing dim. The air was warm. At first I thought I'd sleepwalked in, but when I stood, my knees cracking, I turned and saw there was no door, nothing, just wallpaper, seamless. I ran my hands over it, slammed my fist against it, screamed until my throat burned, nothing gave. Then I turned around and saw the mirror. One-way glass wide across the wall, behind it, the hallway, lit by morning sun, and in it, me, walking past, humming, my body, my hair, my pajamas, but not me. I screamed again, beat the mirror. She didn't flinch, just walked down the stairs like everything was normal. I don't know how long I stayed frozen. Eventually I shouted her name, Myvi, and she turned, just slightly, a pause, then kept walking. My phone was still in my pocket. I called Marcy, my best friend. She answered, "Hey Ivy, what's up?" "It's me, listen, something's wrong, I don't know where I am, Okay, you texting's one thing, but prank calls now? Your voice is super weird. You sick?" "No, listen to me, that's not me. I'm not." Click. I collapsed on the bed, body shaking. The quilt smelled like my childhood room, like warm milk and Vicks VapoRub. But under it, another scent. Bleach, new paint, something preserved. I tried the outlets. None worked. The lamp stayed on anyway. Hours passed, then days. She moved like me, talked like me. She texted Marcy, ordered groceries, streamed old shows. I could see all of it. But then she started doing things I never would. She laughed too loud, put sugar in her coffee, bit her nails, something I haven't done since I was 15. She stood in front of the mirror sometimes, staring directly into it, smiling. I think she knows I'm here. I started writing notes, scratching words into the wall with the sharp end of a broken coat hanger. "Hello, help, I'm real," but no one ever answered, until the package arrived. The delivery guy knocked on the front door. I watched from the mirror. She opened it, signed for it like it was normal. A cardboard box. She brought it up the stairs, set it in front of the mirror, smiled, then left. I waited a long time before opening it. My fingers trembled. Inside, a toothbrush, a journal, a sealed envelope. On the envelope, one line typed, "Occupants rotate weekly. Please remain quiet during observation." That night, I didn't sleep. I thought about my kindergarten teacher, my first dog, the smell of my mom's perfume, everything slipping further out of reach. I thought about what rotate meant. By morning, there was a new object in the room, a pair of men's sneakers, size 10. Day 6, a baseball cap, stained with sweat. Day 7, the light flickered. The mirror dimmed. Then I heard him, breathing, not me, not her, someone else. In the dark corner behind the bookshelf, I pressed against the far wall, knees pulled to my chest. My breath came in stabs. A shape shifted, slow, heavy. He whispered something I couldn't understand. Then silence. Then breathing again. The mirror lit up the next day. She was gone. A man stood there now, shirtless, confused, shouting. Then he stopped, looked directly at me, not through me, at me. I pressed my hand to the glass. He mirrored it. Our fingertips aligned. And then he said, "I saw you last week. You were her." My stomach dropped. "I think it copies us," he whispered, "and watches." He told me his name was Martin, from Kansas. Said he'd been here 3 weeks, or maybe 30. Time blurred. We spoke in short sentences, whispered. Every time we raised our voices, the lights dimmed. Once, the bookshelf shifted. We agreed not to sleep at the same time, but eventually I dozed off. When I woke, the mirror was dark. A thud echoed from behind the wall. No answer when I called his name. His things were gone. The journal now had new handwriting. Not mine, just 3 words. "I miss me." The light turned red. I heard clicking, scraping, a child's laugh. I smashed the mirror with the lamp base. It didn't crack. I tried biting through the wire of the lamp. Got shocked, blood in my mouth. I slept again. I had to. Then came the newest note, slid through a slot I hadn't seen before. Ivy's room occupied. And a second box. Inside, nail clippers, eye drops, a small music box that played the lullaby my mom used to hum. It clicked shut on its own. I screamed until my throat bled. Nothing changed. Only once did I see her again. The replacement. She leaned in close to the mirror. Her mouth didn't move, but her voice came through, clear. Inside my head, "You were never first." She blinked, tilted her head, "Smile for them," then walked away. The lights haven't turned off since. My reflection doesn't blink anymore, and I've stopped hearing myself breathe. The end. And that's the end. But the night is far from over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Tell me, are you still awake? Or did the whispers follow you into your dreams? If sleep won't come just yet, there are plenty more stories waiting for you. Go on, pick another. I'll be here.